When Taylor tells us we're recording, then we start. She's like a movie producer. She's like, and action. So that is it.
Meeting call to order.
Oh, hey. I like you.
See, she doesn't need her microphone, I told you. She's not like I am.
Good evening. It is Monday, June 15th, 2026. This is your Bath Charter Township Board of Trustees meeting. I want to acknowledge our colleague Al Rosecrance's passing, and we'll deal with that later, and I'm sure there will be other ways that we will honor him, but I want to make sure we acknowledge that right out the gate and the sadness that's in the room. Let's do a roll call.
Mr. Fewins-Bliss.
I'm here.
Ms. Wilson.
Here.
Ms. Hagerman.
Here.
Ms. Kellerman.
Here.
Mr. Kotke.
Here.
Mrs. Butler-Challender. And Mr. Rosecrance. They're both absent today.
Next up on our agenda is civic reflection. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. So please rise and join us if you are able for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now a moment of silence, and I would ask you to think about Trustee Rosecrance's family and Beth Botke's family, who also suffered a loss this week. Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. As I've shared with the board, I'd like to offer an amendment today to add a discussion about a board trustee vacancy under item 14, new business, B, items for action, small b, board trustee vacancy. I'm going to recommend we take action, but just because we place it under action does not require us to take action. But I think if we do decide to take action, it should be under items for action. Are there any other proposals for amendments? Hearing none, would anybody be willing to put that forward in a motion?
Go ahead. You started.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to amend the agenda. Are you amending it and approving it, or
And,
just
yes, both.
amend and
Use,
then approve?
add the amendment and.
Is that okay? We do it all at once, Lizzie? Amend and approve. So the motion is to amend and approve the budget as has been discussed by adding item 14BB. That's okay with you, Ray?
That's okay with me, sir.
Great. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor of approving the amended budget, or excuse me, the amended agenda tonight, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. For those in the audience, there should be copies of the agenda on the lectern. It won't be the amended agenda that we just changed, but it'll be mostly what we've talked about. Disclosures of conflicts of interest. Does any board member have a conflict of interest to disclose this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on. Item 5 is public statement number 1. This is limited to 3 minutes for members of the public who are present today who would like to address the board on any issue that pertains to the agenda. If you would like to speak, step up to the lectern, introduce yourself. You can watch your 3 minutes up on the screen so you know when that's up. There is a second opportunity to address the board on any other township issues that you'd like to talk about for an additional 3 minutes at the end of the meeting. Would anyone like to address the board on agenda items tonight? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on. Item 6 is items from county, state, federal, and other agencies. I don't have anyone on my list. Karen? Also, Karen, welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now get right to work. Do we have anything to talk about in item 6?
Not that I'm aware of.
Great. Item 7 is the consent agenda. We have minutes of the Planning Commission. Would anyone like to pull the minutes of the Planning Commission out of the consent agenda for discussion elsewhere? If not, would someone be willing to put the motion forward to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Because it is the consent agenda, we do not have discussion, so we'll move right to a roll call vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, on the job for 3 months, you're up.
Yes.
Kellerman,
Yes.
Kotke,
Yep.
Wilson,
Yes.
Fewins-Bliss,
Yes,
and
that's it. You nailed it. That motion carries. The consent agenda is passed. Item number 8 is the approval of minutes. We have minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of June 1st, 2026. How would the board like to handle those minutes tonight?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for June 1st, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented from the Board of Trustees meeting on June 1st. Is there any discussion, questions, or concerns about those minutes? I made a mess, sorry. Hearing none, we'll take a voice vote to approve those minutes. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting from June 1st, 2026, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Item 9 is approval of vouchers. How would you all like to handle the vouchers tonight?
I'll make a motion to accept the vouchers that have been submitted.
We have a motion and a second to, no, we don't have a second.
You can second it.
I'm not going to.
I'll
but,
second it.
You should second. All right, second it.
I don't want to have my name on every single one of
It's
them.
fine.
Listen, we're short board members
Yeah,
tonight,
that's
so you
true.
guys are gonna have to motion and second. So we do have a motion, and Ray, you are seconding.
I know.
Great.
I'm
No,
always
I'm not
second.
telling you, to be
always
clear.
second.
For the record, I'm not telling you, I'm asking you. To approve the vouchers. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Kellerman,
Yes.
Kotke,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Fewins-Bliss,
Yes.
Hagerman.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. Item 10 is the treasurer's report. We have our next report given on July 20th. Item number 11 is committee appointments, of which we have none, and we also have no township committee reports for item 12. Item 13 is unfinished business. We'll start with items for introduction and discussion. First up is a discussion we have been waiting for on ordinance compliance, policies and procedures, led by our superintendent and I believe others in the room. Take it away, superintendent.
Thank you, and thank you for welcoming me back. I am joined tonight by Ordinance Compliance Officer Roger Dunham. He can step to the lectern should you wish to ask him any questions, and I would just invite him to remain seated until we get to that point. Roger and I last week worked with, excuse me, as if I haven't had enough, I've got a cold now. But Roger and I met with legal counsel Chris Patterson last week, and I believe, Lindsay, you were part of that conversation. Welcome to our meeting tonight. And had a good discussion about how this could be presented to the board in a way that would be easy for everyone to understand and for us to make actionable improvements in the process, should you wish to have that conversation. So, the information that I provided to you as part of a training that was presented by legal counsel David Szymanski, who has moved on from the firm, in good news, and then Trent Cunningham, I believe as well, provided that training for us. So this comes as an excerpt from that training, and I'm happy to share the entirety of those trainings with you should you be interested in seeing those. They are available for you to see. I began by offering to you that our process here in Bath Township is complaint-based, and that it is our mission to treat all equally and fairly while implementing the township's goal of promoting and protecting the public health, safety, and general welfare of our community. We always hope to achieve compliance voluntarily, and I hope the steps that we take are indicative of that process. So we have been trained by Fahey Schultz, our legal counsel, in these matters, but I can offer to you that even in discussing those matters with legal counsel last week, we encountered, I think, several areas that we feel we can improve on, and I would offer that to you in our community as well, to let you know that there is always room for improvement and that my administration is always willing to do things that better serve our public. I'm not going to go through all of the material that was provided. It was available for public consumption as well. I did include for you that our civil infraction process is one that I do think that we will need to visit and reestablish the fees probably need to be taken a look at those and have those modernized. It's been some time since we've taken a look at those fees. And I actually could not locate them on the website. So those are something that, we will visit and, work with probably the planning department as well as ordinance compliance to bring back an updated fee schedule for you to take a look at and update. I know that our, ordinance compliance, our ordinances are available on our website, which can be a cumbersome, way in which to interact with them. We do have them in books, but in an effort to make sure that they are always up to date, we work with Municode, who I think has had a name change recently, but we try to keep those up to date on the website, so that they are up to date in real time. So meaning once you adopt something here, within a week or two, it is updated on the website. So, we don't always print those off and have those in books or binders available, but I interact with that system via keyword and searching, which is a helpful way to do that. So if ever any of you would like a kind of a crash course in interacting with those on our website, we'd be happy to go through that process with you. We also have several people designated as officials that can enforce our ordinances. And that is for you on the second page of my memo. The zoning administrator, who you know is also our planner, Miles Robler, is that individual. Building official, Nick, who you met recently when approving the new AGS contract. And then some of his inspectors, as well as Roger and myself, have the ability to enforce those ordinances. So with that in mind, and with the attachments that were provided, I would love to have a conversation with you, and if you need me to go through any additional information, I'd be happy to do so. But I would really love to kind of dig in and understand where we can make improvements for the board and our community.
Thanks, Karen. I know there's some various questions, but I thought it might be helpful, and I know you've provided this here, but just for folks in the audience and watching, to just quickly walk through the process. So say you're driving by my house, you see I've got a junk car off its wheels in the road, whatever ordinance that violates, and you're like, that looks ugly in my neighborhood, so you call the township. I'm Karen Hildebrandt, I'm the neighbor of Ryan Fewins-Bliss, I'd like to make an ordinance complaint. What happens after that?
So I would invite Roger to come to the lectern and have that conversation with you, because Roger's the one that does that groundwork, establishes whether there is a code compliance issue or not, and then makes contact with the homeowner. So I would invite him to have that
And
conversation.
I'd invite the board members to ask questions along the way here as part of the process. So we've got a complaint against me, I can't take care of my junk car, what happens?
So I'll get the complaint, I'll, in person, go out there, investigate it. I'll, take all my, everything that I've gathered, and I'll put it in the system, you know, pictures, of the proof of the violation.
What's the system?
BSNA,
So it's a software that we put
Software that we
the
use.
information into?
that gives us a case number, all that, then I'll,
Can I interrupt you already and just ask a couple questions?
yeah.
So I'm mad now, you're at my house, and I'm like, this junk car's been out here for 3 years, no one's ever complained. Do you say, well, your neighbor Karen called on you? How does that work?
No, it's, totally anonymous,
It's anonymous.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Couple questions have come to me, and so I can't answer because I don't know the answer, from many, many neighbors. First one is a phone call okay, or does it have to be on, when I finally got the official paperwork that I then handed out to the neighbors, that is a call official?
I'll take a phone call complaint, someone will complain to, you know, Miles about something, so Miles will pass it on to me. I'll get,
Probably the
in
forms.
person,
Then get the form, I would get a
Email?
form then?
email, there's email, you can go online, do email, and you can mail.
And does that stay anonymous? Again, this was it keeps coming to me because of the issues that we've
It stays
had.
anonymous,
It
but
stays
a lot of
anonymous.
people figure it out on their own, because usually the people that are complaining are ones that
One,
they've had problems with in
Yeah.
the past. Or it's right there on their property line. So,
this is probably too involved, but is there a place online where I can say, like, I have 40 acres, I can store 30 trailers, or I can store one, and how far does it have to be from a property line? Because I've been asked that too, and I go, I have no idea. And that's a big thing for complaints.
there's the junk ordinance. If you look in there, it states that you can only have up to 2 vehicles. I mean, there's a lot of things in there that you got to abide by. But for the most part, you can have 2 vehicles, but they have to be covered.
Stored ones.
They have to be covered with a car cover that is actually made for that vehicle, so it looks nice. You can't just throw a tarp around it.
Is there a difference between the regulations for agricultural land versus downtown in East Lansing? Is that clearly delineated on our rules and regs? Sorry, but I've been.
Ordinances.
The ordinances, yeah. Is that understandable by?
So what
So
go ahead.
In, so like agricultural, if you can see it from the roadway, and it's against our ordinance for like blight and junk, old vehicles,
Right.
it's against our ordinance, so you'd have to abide by our ordinance in those situations, no matter where you are in our township. But if it's noxious weeds ordinance, you can have your grass as long as you want. If it's
So I'm gonna just interject.
Yeah.
There are some there are different rules for ag property than there are, what I could recommend is, it's very confusing. Somebody could call in and talk to Roger or talk to Miles about their property and what they're thinking about doing. And I know it seems odd to some people that they would have to call and kind of check on or get permission for what they want to do. But in order to be in compliance with the ordinance, that is a conversation that we would happily have with somebody. And I think Miles does that quite frequently. People will call and ask questions weekly, daily. So those calls are occurring. It doesn't have to just be when someone turns a homeowner in, but it could be like, my dad had this car and I really want to keep it. I inherited it maybe, and I want to keep it and I want to cover it, and how should I do that? It might just be a helpful first step for a homeowner in Bath to have that conversation with Miles or Roger, and they work together wonderfully well in trying to help our property owners here in the township do those things.
And they're very polite when they check on you.
That is my expectation, so yes, thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
So complaints come through.
He's like,
I got a junk
Right, so I
car.
put it into BSNA.
You start your
And-
investigation.
Yep, I've started the investigation. I've come to the conclusion it's a junk car. I put it in BSNA.
What if the junk car's behind my house? Do you come on my property to investigate? How do you figure that out then?
If the complaintee allows me to access their property to make sure that I can see, if I can see it from their property line. But we operate if you see it from the roadway.
So what if it is a violation you
If it's-
can't see?
If you can't see it,
But
then,
it is a violation, but you
then
can't
we
see it.
don't do anything about it.
You can't hold them compliant, okay.
Yeah.
So you investigate,
So, yeah, we
you
investigate.
determine it is a valid complaint, now what? What are you gonna do
So
to me?
now, I will, if it's someone that I think, if I can go over there and just knock on the door and get hold of somebody, I'll go over there in person. Or if I find an old ordinance or some way I find their number, I can call them, and have a discussion that way. If I can't do that, then I'll have to send a letter, and hopefully they get back to me. Most of the time they do. So then we'll come up with what would be best for them and the township for a time frame to get something cleaned up. And some are more, they need more time because they've been accumulating this stuff for years. And some are, they get it done right away.
And our ordinance allows you to give folks different amounts of time based on each situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's discretion, so
Okay.
there's nothing in there that says it has to be a certain amount of time. Technically, we could probably just write somebody a ticket for something over and over again, never take them to court, but if I'm not, am I wrong in saying that, or?
No, I mean, we could.
We won't.
We have the latitude
Right.
to write citations, and something we learned in working with legal counsel last week is that only those cases where we believe that we could go to court and have the documentation in place to pursue that avenue, we should not be writing citations. So we did learn something key to that process, is that basically if you write a ticket, you better be willing to go to court over the matter. So I think it changes the framework of what we would write a citation for here in the township. If we could gain compliance by talking to somebody and working with them on their property, we would prefer to do that.
So let's say you give me 30 days and I don't do it. What happens next?
Then I would write you a second letter,
Okay.
trying to gain compliance. I mean, if I don't hear from anybody, I have never ran into this issue before, but if I don't hear from anybody, then that's when you would get the infraction, and then, you would get the second ticket, if it came to that, and it would go to court over it to get compliance.
So how many letters would you send me if I keep filing them in the circular file?
Up to 3.
Okay, so now you've given me 3 letters and I'm like, I'm not doing it, Bath Township. What
Then you
happens
get
now?
your final, ticket and court appearance and.
But each of these letters aren't a ticket, right? They're just like a warning?
No. After the second letter, you would get your first ticket,
Okay,
and then, after that, you would get the second ticket.
Is there a fee with the ticket?
Yes.
Fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
so Karen, you just said we have to be willing to go to court if we
Correct.
write a ticket. What if we're not willing to go to court, but my junk car is still out there and you're my neighbor and still mad at me?
So in order to gain compliance, it is an area that Roger and I often meet on and talk about these cases, because they are not a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah,
They are each very different, and we try to take into, with respect to if there's financial implications for the homeowner, you know, if they have to buy a bunch of tarps, or they have to do, move very heavy vehicles or whatnot, we try to work with the homeowner. But in order to try to rectify the complaint, sometimes the ticket is enough. Sometimes we have in the past gone to court through the township. It used to be a more common occurrence under some previous ordinance compliance officers. We really, Roger and I, and then Kevin Douglas and I, who was the ordinance compliance officer before Roger, really have made it a mission to try to work with the homeowners to get that compliance without imposing a fine. We also can talk to them too about a drastic step that we would prefer not to take, is that we can rectify the situation at our cost and then pass that along on their property taxes. But of course, for somebody that's already having difficulty, sometimes that is not the best way. So really, truly, voluntary compliance is the best way. And I would say that 97% of the time that we are able to come to accomplish it through voluntary compliance. It might take us a little longer, but working with our homeowners really has been for us the best way to proceed through these cases.
okay. So I've got my second ticket. Ray comes along and says there's bald eagles living in my car.
You're saved.
We're safe. No, I kid.
Only within a certain radius.
So now, right, no one can walk near the car within a certain radius. So now you're taking me to court, so ultimately the court's gonna make a decision and tell me to do X, Y, and Z. But let's say I finally comply voluntarily, but now I'm mad. So now I see that Sherry, my other neighbor's got a car, Ray's got a car, Jen's got a car, and I'm just sending you letter after letter after letter. Do you then follow up on those complaints?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that a typical thing that happens, that folks sort of respond in an angrily way and say, but
pointed
wait,
at
this
you.
person and that person?
No, doesn't happen very often.
It does
Not as many
sometimes.
people are petty as I am.
It's happened a couple
It has
times.
It has happened,
It
okay,
has happened.
okay.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that is a valid response.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I would certainly feel, is I've been
Yeah.
called out about this, but yet I
Yeah.
see it happening in a variety of other places around the township.
And
That
they
is
have to
correct.
check on everything that you call about me, they have to come and check it out.
Yeah.
That's
But
totally
if they
reasonable.
know that it's complaint-based, gotta
True.
kind of understand that
True.
we're not just going after them.
So when I first joined the board, the first time in 2012, this complaint-based system was explained to me. We had a different compliance officer at the time, but
did.
what's the opposite of complaint-based? Like, what are the other frameworks that we could adopt if this like complaint-based system isn't working for us? Because some people are getting held accountable and some people aren't.
So I would offer that as a conversation that we actually had with Chris, and there is a financial and staffing implication to that, but it would be, Roger would not sit in his office and wait for a complaint to come in. He would actively be out, and I hesitate to call it patrolling, but he would be patrolling, he would be going through the township and looking at each property and identifying issues, if there were junk vehicles or noxious weeds or, for the appropriate ordinances for each area of the township. He would be identifying violations himself and then pursuing those. He might see somebody's re-roofing their house and he'd want to make sure they were getting a permit for that. So it would be him out there identifying issues himself and then going after and working each case through with each one he's identified.
To me, this feels like the catch-22 I often talk to with people, is they love the complaint-based system until the complaint is against them.
Correct.
And then they have a long list of valid ideas or examples of other people not being held accountable for that.
Yeah.
I never know what to say, right, I never know what to say to them, like, we've adopted a
We
complaint-based
have.
system, which until yesterday, when a complaint was against you, you loved. Now you hate it because you're being singled out,
Yeah.
true?
Correct.
But if, like, I had it happen to me, and if I had been in violation, then I should fix it. That seems
for
pretty
sure.
simple. And the guys were great, and
Yeah. It was obvious nobody was living in the trailer.
whatever, and so it's like,
Cut and dry.
it seems like it can work, having experienced it. The only issues I had was people complaining about other things that didn't seem to happen, but I can see where it's cumbersome. Very.
Well, you're only part-time, right? I mean, you're supposed
Right.
to be only 20 hours a week
Shared
on your
with
job.
Yeah,
Fire.
so
Okay.
his position is shared. He's also the fire marshal for the fire department. So
what I
he
thought.
does split his time between both of those positions. But they go hand in hand with
Yeah.
one
Right.
another, so.
Correct.
In the fire marshal job, do you do more of like outreach looking for things, or is that also something you wait for things to come to you?
That's another, just when we run across stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it includes reviewing plans too, when there's developments in the area. He works with Miles when, yeah, like businesses and making sure that people are, as you can see, we have an occupancy limit in this room. He does that for businesses as well. He makes sure that they have their smoke detectors and their fire extinguishers. So that is part of the fire safety aspect of that other
But that's
position.
not just a complaint-based system.
No,
right?
no,
That
no.
happens in a more formalized.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
But still waiting for people to initiate with him, he's not initiating those things.
It's not like East Lansing where we have, a set time where we're gonna go out and inspect this apartment building. Make sure that they're,
It's not like the health department where they just pop in.
Right.
Yeah, no, he's not doing that, yeah.
In
So-
general,
So,
are,
I mean, obviously to establish the business, at one point, it had
Yes.
to be deemed safe and compliant.
Correct,
So
correct.
then it would only be complaint-based if it had deviated from that
You are
at some
correct.
point over time.
Yeah.
Okay.
to get the certificate of occupancy, is that where that happens?
Or if there's an incident, or somebody notices, that, it could be that we've had restaurants that have been redone and they didn't pull permits. So it might be that, somebody makes a call and says, this new restaurant opened up, but I don't think they had you guys come in and check their stuff. So, then we would work with the business owner.
So in this responsive-based two positions, really, how busy are you? Is this stuff coming at you all the time? Are you out and about all the time because of this, or are you, sitting in your office waiting for your phone to ring?
No, I'm pretty busy. Yeah. I'm always doing something.
How many complaints for ordinance compliance would you say we get in some set period? A month, a year, whatever makes sense to you?
I pulled a report for, since
Oh,
I've started.
great.
I don't know exactly like a set period other than,
No, that's helpful.
That looks like it
Got-
says 41.
like 41
Is that phone
Yeah,
calls too,
41
or written
complaints.
only?
All of them.
since
Everything is supposed to be SNA system.
August of last year.
Oh, so 41 complaints in less than a year.
But Roger, does that include the ones where you received a complaint where you drove out and, like, there was nothing to enter into BSNA because there's
No.
So it's more than 41, those were the ones where a complaint was established.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still ones where I went out and investigated and
Yeah.
there wasn't anything.
Oh,
So you don't make note of that?
No.
Should we?
Perhaps.
We could, yeah.
Yeah.
mean, just
I
to
think
keep
it's
track.
important because
I mean-
you're spending time on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will, yeah.
Yeah.
Cause it's, you can just make a note that says, call was made to me, I went out and surveyed,
Document your time.
Here's this complaint,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be
I
helpful.
mean,
That's
in
called-
case you get another phone call and you're like, oh, I got a phone call 2 months ago on that place,
No, it's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Or 10 phone calls.
I think I'll start doing that.
It's
Yeah,
called,
okay.
it's called CYA is what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So other questions for Roger about this fictional process we've laid out?
Fictional.
The process is real, the situation's fake. I don't have a junk car at my home. I do, but I drive it.
We're gonna be checking.
What's your address?
Yeah, we'll check tomorrow.
Would you drive it?
Go ahead.
I have some comments and questions. Comment first is, I've lived in a municipality where it was, as you described, where the official did basically drive around town and look for things, and you would get a letter in the mail. And I can say, along with everyone else who lived in Weberville in the early 2000s, that is not a fun system to live under either. I think the complaint-based system is probably the better system.
I would agree with you.
But it does get really tough then when it comes down to non-voluntary compliance, or those small fraction of people who resist. Is it legally okay to treat each case differently if you're considering financial situations, or perhaps the age or whatever of the
Health.
people in health of the people involved? Does that open up the township to liability at all?
So I'm happy to address that issue. So the big picture to keep in the back of our minds is it completely, please forgive me, I had a filling just before I got here, and this side of my face is not doing what I'm asking it to do. So we're gonna give it a go. Apologies. So in enforcement matters in general, the township has total prosecutorial discretion. Number one, that's the foundational element to understand about all of this, which means even if two situations are exactly the same and the township says, I'm sorry, I'm coming after you, Karen, but not you, Lizzie, that's okay. The only time that becomes a problem is if we have a pattern in practice or a policy, a set policy, where we have said, for instance, we're only going after people in a certain protected characteristic based on age, race, sex, national origin, religion, all of those protected characteristics, or by practice that has occurred. So in that example, right, let's say that Roger is systematically only sending notices of violation to properties that are owned by females and never sends them to any males. There would probably be an issue at some point to be raised and discussed with Roger, which he would never do. In all other cases, the counsel that I would provide to you is very similar to what I would provide if you were talking about how to manage certain employment situations, which is identify the legitimate township business reason for the variance in behavior or processing so that you can articulate it later. And in this way, I liken it to, we all remember being in math class, you were a science teacher, I think, right? So a little different, but you know, you could get a perfect, you know, you would get the answer right and still not get full credit on your test. Why? Because you didn't show your work. It's very similar to that. So I do really love the suggestion that we document even if we don't find something. I think that's going to be really important for moving forward. Because in the future, if somebody who doesn't know the history comes here and says, I've been calling Roger, he's not doing anything about this, we then can say Roger has looked at it every 6 months when it's come forward, has confirmed every time there's no problem. That helps unwind the story that might be understood outside of his knowledge base, which can be very useful to you. So in all cases, I think it's really important to understand and be able to articulate at the time why we're making those choices, not waiting for somebody to challenge you to say, why'd you treat her like that and this person like that?
Okay, thank you. Number one. Number two, it sort of just ties right in there, which was, I had written down data, like what kind of data do we have? And I was looking for my schedule of who's going to give us their administrative reports when, but I couldn't find it right offhand. Is this one of the
Yes.
reports to the board
is.
that we will get
Yes.
regularly?
What I discovered while we were working with legal counsel last week is that Chris is always very helpful, Lizzie as well, and they're able to share with us sometimes what other communities do. And I had a meeting, there's a resident in the audience today that came in and met with me about this process, and we had a really great conversation, and I can better understand where he's coming from as a homeowner. There are, sorry, I just had lost a train of thought, must be with Lizzie's lip. But Chris was able to share with us what other people do in other communities. Something they do is that if they have the name and address of the complainant, even though those are considered anonymous, we could, if we found there to be a violation of the ordinance, or if we determined there was not a violation of the ordinance, when we write to the homeowner, we could copy the complainant on those, with that communication as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do think that is something that would be helpful to us to do if we have that information. Now,
That
if
would
somebody just
certainly-
calls and just does not leave anything, then of course, we don't have any way to communicate with
That
them.
would certainly give the sense that somebody's
Yes.
attempting to do
Actions
something
happening.
Yes,
about this.
and then
Action is
another thing
happening.
that Chris pointed out, which I found very helpful, and I think Roger and I, moving forward, will try to implement this, is that referencing the specific ordinance that is in violation or that has been checked and it is determined there is no violation should also be part of our notes as well. And I don't know that we've been doing that with each case every time, but that is something that we will start, I believe, using that will be beneficial to us, because we can say, well, what did we check last time? And we can say, okay, we checked this ordinance, but honestly, there's another ordinance that they might be in violation of, and it could be something in Miles's world that we're not aware of or we hadn't used previously. So having that documentation on the specific ordinance that was either checked against or found to be in violation would be very helpful for us as well. The third thing, which is something you might be interested in, along with having the ordinance compliance officer come and give a report to us a couple times a year, we can also, Roger was able to produce a report from BSNA, and I think this would be something either monthly or quarterly that we could share with you, board members, to let you know, like, kind of what has come before us and what is still occurring, what we're still working on would be a helpful information for you. And then if you had concerns, you could sit with us and talk with us about those things too, so.
Well, I think that would be helpful because, I mean, ultimately, we sign off on or approve these
Correct.
ordinances.
Correct.
And if it seems like maybe they're not fitting the township.
Correct.
In one way or another.
Yeah, I like the way you're
then,
thinking.
that's something that we would have some data
Yeah.
to start a review
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is relevant too is if I'm just bitching about I'm the only one and your other 20 neighbors, how many people complain about your vehicle because you hit it behind your barn, you know, and it's back on the back 40, that it should be part of the references, how many phone calls you got, at what time, what dates, and that's a part of the record, and I think it's extremely important in my experiences.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Roger, when you're keeping notes in the BSNA software, do you track these deviations as, Lizzie was saying, like, this person's in the hospital, so I've given them 30 extra days, or this person's,
Yeah, it's-
injured and is recovering?
It's pretty detailed.
Okay. So if anyone would ever ask, we'd have the documentation to show we made a deviation because of these situations. Okay, thank you. Go
And
ahead.
then, lastly, public education. Do we do it at all?
Yeah,
Could
we
we
haven't done a
maybe do it
great
more?
job. We have a couple of articles that are available on the website. I think one of them is junk cars, one of them is, I know there's like 3 or 4. There's pools, we've done some articles that are supposed to help, and we've included them in our newsletters in the past, but, honestly, we could do a better job.
Sidewalks and grass are.
Sidewalks and
Yeah,
grass.
I think maybe, especially some of the seasonal stuff that comes
Yeah.
up all the time, just kind of like a fun fact of the day.
Yeah.
Did you know in Bath Township, our ordinance says blah, 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 blah about cutting your grass?
Yeah, I do think we could
Shoveling
do
your snow,
a better
clearing your
job.
sidewalks.
Yes,
And it could also just be helpful information,
Mm-hmm.
and also when we put something new in, like, I saw there was quite a bit of misinformation about our new, mobile living quarters ordinance.
Yeah.
And what is allowed and what is not allowed.
Yeah.
And if the township, I think, were the clarifying voice on that, that could help,
yeah.
alleviate
I
some of
hear
that
you, and I
misinformation
do
that's
think it is
being
needed.
spread around.
Yeah, I do think it is needed, and we could be that clarifying voice for the public. So, yeah, I think that's a great suggestion for us to take you up on.
I do have a comment. Well, I want to say, is this what you guys, I believe Miles and you did this year? Before Junk Day, you went to the houses that you've had issues with and reminded them about Junk Day, is that correct? I thought you guys were sending information
Yeah.
out to those problem properties.
Yeah, I think
So,
last
I
year.
mean, we've tried
Yeah,
to
more than
help
this year.
people in the
It was less
community,
and more in this year, yeah.
Last year, there
Okay.
was letters sent out to,
the problem properties.
That's really
Yeah.
smart.
We're trying to give people avenues.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because this
But-
is a free way to clean up
but
your
I also
property.
had some, complaints that I reached out to those residents and let them know that, hey, this is coming up, this is your chance to
Yeah.
get rid of some
Yeah,
stuff.
so, I think we
had complaints
all.
about-
Better
Because
to be
you're telling
proactive than reactive in that sense, I
So
think.
that was one of the things that I offered you when we were talking about the mobile living situations, is that we do try to offer resources to people. I think we can all acknowledge that renting a dumpster, and having a large dumpster full of stuff carried from our property would be very expensive, but we do try to offer people those opportunities with Unity in the community, as well as Tom King Junk Day, and other things that we are aware of, to help them, get them the resources that they might need to take care of those situations. Some people don't want it, they don't want us to, offer or suggest and be in their business, but some people are very grateful to have those resources available to them to take advantage of.
How do you gauge whether someone, I guess I'm just gonna be crass about it, but could afford the lien that we would eventually put if we took care of it ourselves? Because you said some people, it's clear that's not helpful, right?
Yeah.
To cause them more financial strain. How do you make that call?
I'll defer to Roger on that. He works closely with homeowners and can probably answer that better for you.
So what exactly is the question again?
So like Karen mentioned that you can, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but you can sort of tell when a family may be hurt financially, and that us taking care of the situation and then billing them or putting a lien on their property is actually more harmful to them than helpful. How do you make that call?
How do I make the call if they're actually having a rough time? They just,
Yeah, like we're gonna clean this up and
They're-
charge them, or this actually would be more harmful than helpful.
I mean, you can kind of tell right when they tell you they're having a lot of different hardships, you know.
So they often
Someone's
share
having-
that information with
Oh,
you?
yeah, they'll say, you know, I can't do this, and we have no help, and, you know, my husband's going in surgery, or, you know, I haven't had to make that decision where we won't,
Yeah.
go that route.
I do
But if
think,
we did, I would refer to
Yeah.
Karen, and we would talk about, you know,
yeah, we
I-
talk
I-
about a lot of these
I have a
situations.
couple properties coming up to that type of a,
Roger, one of the benefits of
Situation.
having Roger in this position is that Roger grew up in this community and went to high school in this community. He's now raising his family in this community, so he knows many of the people that have grown up around here and has an understanding of what a family might be going through. So we try 100% to be respectful of people's of their lives. We use the information that they share with us. Sometimes there is a court proceeding that's taking place. We had one very recently where there was a court proceeding. And one of the things that Mr. Patterson said to us is that it is good that we wait sometimes for the court proceeding to play out, because if we try to intervene and start another action, sometimes it can be confusing for a judge to say, okay, did this come before this? Should we be letting this play out before we do this? And we don't want to confuse those situations, so sometimes if there is a court proceeding playing out, we kind of take a hands-off approach until that court proceeding, whether it's an eviction or some other thing. It could be a divorce, could be, custody, things where, this party is going to be leaving the house depending on the divorce, and then they'll be taking things with them or, retaining things. So we try to let those things play out before we get involved. That can be messy. I mean, I won't lie to you. It can be very messy trying to interject into people's lives and help them clean up situations. And many times if the outside of their property is not, if it's getting complaints, it's indicative of some things that are going on inside the property as well. So it's not easy work. And Roger and I, like I said, work through a lot of these things together and talk about these things and try to make the best decisions we can for Bath and for our residents.
So how might the community understand when something like that is happening? Like, okay, there's an eviction notice, it's gonna take 30 days, now that's gone to court, but my complaint is sitting out there.
Yeah.
Without you sharing the person's business to the complainant, but the complainant's saying like,
Nothing's happening, or I'm
I'm
not
gonna go to the
seeing.
township board now, and I'm gonna rile
Yeah.
them up because I made a complaint like I was supposed to and nothing happened.
So I would encourage them, if they feel like they are not seeing progress, or they just wonder what's going on, for them to make an appointment and meet with us. I have in the past met with people, Roger will meet with people, we can do that together. And just give them some insight. Maybe it's easier to say there are some legal proceedings that are taking place and we're waiting for those to play out in court before we become involved. But on this date or after, we will, be taking action. It's probably easier, and I understand that that can be a hardship as well for people to take off time, but we're happy to have a phone conversation with them, or a physical meeting here at the township or somewhere else if it's more convenient for them. But we would work with them to try to get them the information that they're seeking to understand.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're very involved in these processes.
I
How
am.
much of your time is being spent on ordinance compliance? Because that
I would-
also is
Yeah, I
sort
would-
of a red flag for
I
me.
would offer maybe a couple hours a week. Roger is very capable of telling when he needs my help or doesn't need my help. Sometimes cases rise to that level of he just needs to talk about it with me. He needs to make sure he's proceeding in the right fashion, that he's doing the right thing with the right ordinance. We take, a lot of times, we'll pull up an ordinance and look at it together. We pull up BSNA, we look at it together. But I would offer you that it's not I can't talk today. It's not a lot of my time. I would offer that it's 1 to 2 hours a week.
it's more of a, I go to her and say, this is what I wanna do.
Yeah.
Just
I say,
sounds
that's
like a good
great.
idea.
How about you try this as well? And he's off and running.
And
So,
that's the structure because Roger reports to you?
Roger does
And we
report to
don't
me.
have a very deep bench on
No, we
people who
don't.
are supervising other
No.
people, right?
No, the fire chief and I kind of parent Roger, I'm sorry, I meant manage, Roger. He does not need to be parented. I did not mean to insinuate that, but is a good employee and has a lot of what he needs already within him, and is, I would offer you 98% of the time he's moving in the right direction, but maybe he hasn't thought of this or that. So he's doing a great job, but I do think there's room for us to improve our process in the community.
But I think that's helpful to know, because one of the complaints I often hear from the community is like, why does everything have to go through Karen? Or I can't get a hold of Karen, Karen's too busy. And I think those are legitimate complaints, and you and I have, tried to figure out how to free up your space and make you available. But I think it is helpful for the community to know, we don't have like a lot of supervisors
No.
in the township who are able to take that leadership and sort of own that role in supporting Roger in a very public, we're talking about it at the board meeting, a very public setting. So you do get bogged down in some of that, but we just don't have an infrastructure at the township yet. And we don't have the money to hire a bunch of staff to help build that
Yeah.
at this point.
I would
And that's
offer
what takes you down sometimes.
Yeah, it does. And I would offer you that if our building department was doing this, or if this was, in the past, this was farmed out to other communities. We shared a person with another community. We used to share Gary with DeWitt Township, Gary Cipher. We lose touch with our community, and I don't want that. A lot of people have said, like, this is not DeWitt, or this is not East Lansing, or this is not another community, Meridian Township, for example. The way that we are able to keep this in-house is we share it with the fire department, with another like position. And I'm able to be hands-on and talk about these cases with Roger. If it were to be designed in another way, we would lose that local feel, and we would lose touch with our people. And I recognize that we're growing to 14,000 people, and at some point, we're gonna lose that community feel. But I don't think it has to occur in this position and at this time. I think our people deserve to be treated with respect, and they deserve to be treated fairly, and they deserve to have their circumstances, for whatever reason, heard, and for us to help them with that.
Yeah, I point that out because, as the board has determined, we're putting a millage on the ballot here in August to roll back the Headley funds that have been taken away from us over the years. And this is one of the reasons we need extra funds, is we don't have a deep staffing infrastructure. And
Correct.
I hear this, it's always this mixed news in the public, right? It's like, don't spend a lot of money on staffing, but when I show up with my complaint, someone better be available at my discretion to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I think both of those things are true, right? We
Yeah,
don't want
they
to
can
waste
be.
a bunch of money, but we
Yeah.
also want to make sure people can have their needs taken care of. And I would argue this is one of the reasons the board moved forward with the millage request, was to make sure we have the funding so that people are able to respond to complaints and other concerns from the community.
Yeah.
Well, this has been really helpful for me. Are there other questions or clarifications? I appreciate, Karen and Roger, you've identified ways already that we can improve our system. And Lizzie, you and your team, I know, have been really helpful in that. I think this is continuous improvement of something that probably has been, like everything else we've been finding in the township, left on the shelf for 40 years and never revisited. So I appreciate that you all are revisiting it and updating it. It's been helpful for me. Kate, anything else from you?
No.
Are we good to move on? Well, I look forward to your first report back to us on some of the changes that you've made.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Thank you for doing this work.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks, guys.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, Brendan.
And Sherry, thank you for bringing this up as a board topic. Clearly, it was something that we needed to press on, and it's been very helpful. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Item B is preservation of Bath Township's proposed Park Lake Trail and Nature Preserve. Trustee Kotke, you have originated this, and I understand we have Jared back from us. So how would you like us to start this conversation?
Jared sent me an executive summary, and I believe I included it in all of your packets. It is included in your packets. Disavow that blacked out matrix, table, table, matrix, because it's wrong
Okay.
and it's confusing. So we're gonna go over the.
That's page 27, you're saying this, we
Yeah.
should
Page 20,
disregard?
That's
That's
correct.
helpful, thank you.
We'll start at page 22, but Jared, did you have something to say first?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I laid out three sensible options for the protection of that property. And I definitely want to get your opinions on that, what is best for the community and what's best for the taxpayer for the future. So I laid out three options. I just wanted to make sure that you knew the best options for protecting that land. The disadvantages and the advantages of each type of land protection.
Can you walk us through? I know we've seen this and those who have accessed the packet have, but I bet those in the audience and most people at home have not accessed.
Yeah, so option one would be the sale or transfer of the approximately 44 acres of property on the south side of Park Lake to the land trust, excluding the parcel that was purchased with Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund money. And that is my suggestion because there could be implications for future applications for the Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund. That would be in jeopardy with potential transfer of that parcel. So that's something that I would want to check in with the DNR about.
I have John Mayer and his constituents working on that right now. They haven't
Okay.
gotten back with me yet. They've been on it for about a week now.
Okay, great. I appreciate that, because that's one thing, is I wouldn't want any transfer to jeopardize the township or the people who live in this township.
And
The
Ray, which
second-
property is that?
That's I call it the Park Lake Road. It's the
red one.
flag lot that
It looks like an L.
goes up to Park Lake Road, yes.
So the easternmost property that you've highlighted in the
It's
packet?
the red one, right?
Well, they're all red,
Well, this guy.
but yes. The one that's shaped like Oklahoma,
I was just gonna say that.
upside down.
Right.
And the second option, if that is permissible for the DNR to transfer that parcel, would be the same situation, but all the parcels would be transferred to Mid-Michigan Land Conservancy. Then the third option would be protecting the property with conservation easement, so it remains in ownership by the township, but the property is protected in perpetuity from development. My suggestions would be, and also I factored in there, are you looking for more of a market sales approach, or for the transfer of those properties, a bargain sale? You know, there's many ways of going about this, but I want to make sure that it's done in a way that's fair to you as the board, the township, and the community, and also easy for us, because obviously if we were ownership, we would be the ones managing the property. We'd be keeping the trail open to the public, 24/7, ecological restoration, and maintaining the property. That would be the advantage, that would be our responsibility, to make sure that property is protected, stewarded, and maintained open to the public in perpetuity. So there's advantages and disadvantages for each different scenario. But I was just interested in what your thoughts were about each different scenario, and what's probably best for the future of the property.
What prevents your organization from just turning around and selling this land for a profit?
You can't.
We really can't. We would definitely lose our accreditation, which doesn't have anything to do with the township, but it's not something that I've seen done in land trusts. I would recommend a memorandum of understanding or arrangements made so that if something happens, I can't predict what happens in 20, 30 years, the land either goes to another conservation organization that maintains it for the public, or that would revert back to the township.
So there are ways that we could build in some protections there.
Yes, protection for the community. I've never seen that happen in our land trust, and a lot of times that's not allowed. I've never been involved in those sort of situations, but no, that would be absolutely terrible thing to do as a land trust.
What happens if you put together some sort of, I won't say trail, but some sort of activity on the property and the board's like, whoa, we hate that? Do we have any say, influence, governance over that anymore, or is it your board who then is in charge?
It would be our board if we were the owners of the property. Now, going into it, we'd like to have good relationships with the local community, so that involves placements of trailheads, maintenance, not disturbing eagles, or dealing with neighbors. We want to make sure that we're doing what the township wants us to do. Now, I would work very closely. I can't predict the future, so
Right.
Once it's our ownership, our obligation is to keep it open to the public. I can't say, to an extent, what your question. But really, we don't want anything that really ticks you guys off. I would say.
Yeah, I mean, part of the point of my questions is, one of my mentors said, form partnerships when the relationship is good and make sure the partnerships are strong for when the relationship is bad. So like, while you seem like a great guy, we can like you, next week you hit the lotto, go to Fiji, and your replacement, we do not like. We need to have some protections, or I think I would advocate for some protections on behalf of the township for when there perhaps is not a partnership, but an adversarial relationship. Hopefully that would never happen, but to your point, you can never predict what happens in the future. I have one more question, then I'll open it up to my colleagues. We've had some pushback from some neighbors of the property about usage of the property. So say you do improve the trail, open it up, lots of people are now using it, and the neighbors are furious. There's people traipsing on their property, there's too much activity, there's people parking in the wrong spot. That, in my mind, would become your problem, not our problem, but also I believe those people would show up here to complain about that problem. What happened in that situation?
I would just suggest that we work with them. You know, I understand that that could be a problem, but that's an issue that would be our problem, not yours. They could go to you and, you know, complain, but really it would be up to us to manage that relationship and to ensure that violation, the trespassing on property is addressed, whether that's through signage or unfortunately fencing, anything to make sure that the public is not ticking off the neighbors.
Have you dealt with any neighbor disputes like that in other properties you've acquired?
Not between neighbors, we really just deal with encroachments typically, but
Okay.
I've not dealt with actual open conflict over properties. Most of ours are extremely rural, away from communities, so usually we have maybe a handful of neighbors.
Okay. Go ahead, Kate.
One of the things that has come up in the past, as we've talked about putting in a trail and potential plans for it, is it would require some financial investment, you know, and perhaps an alternate bridge to avoid the property conflicts over the water control structure, some sort of way to get through the wetlands, to make it a complete loop, which that requires a lot of money that the township doesn't have. Does your organization have the money to improve this, to make it a more usable land resource to the public than it really currently is? I know there is a trail in there now, but it only goes partway through and it ends on private property. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm the stewardship staff, so I am able to protect, mow, expand that trail pretty easily, and the volunteers. As far as money goes, I don't have any concerns unless it went to putting in boardwalks. That's money that we would do through fundraising or acquiring through grants to expand like a boardwalk system through the wetlands, if we determined that was something we wanted to do. But we do have the capability of maintaining the trail as is, and expanding it to make sure, throughout the property, as long as it's something that we feel is appropriate for the property and protects the conservation features.
May I?
Oh, go ahead, Sherry, and then Ray.
I'm sorry, I didn't have his eyes open in the back of my head.
Right, okay.
Option one is all, option two is leaving out those MNRTF
Yeah.
parcels. And it says here, the high cost transaction complexity due to 25 parcels versus option two, missing a couple that are not, or one, whatever that is. What sort of money are we looking at here? And is that your problem or our problem?
That's probably our problem, but we would hope that we could combine parcels, so we're not doing our due diligence on 25 different parcels, title searches, those sort of things. But that would more be our cost. We're not asking you to cover that.
So, I mean, it seems ideally there's not a couple little properties that are not included, but have it all. But when I say, one of them says high transaction complexity and the other one does not say that. So it sounds like it's really different.
1 and 2 are basically and I'm speaking about the executive summary one. 1 and this is a little different, Jared. 1 and 2 are the same, identical, except that number 2 excludes the Park Lake Road parcel possibly until the DNR says, well, yeah, you could transfer that to a land conservancy, because it's still being used for the exact same thing.
Okay.
That's what I think they're gonna say.
Yeah, I would say both are high complexity, just one
Yeah.
has one less parcel.
Right.
One just has a lot more you know, with the DNRs involved, so it's
Yeah.
also complex.
So,
The biggest thing I wanted to do with this, and, you know, on here it says, the township board must determine, how it wishes to achieve permanent conservation. First of all, we have to determine if we want to do permanent conservation. The reason I brought this up is because I've heard time and time again about liability and no interest in making it into a useful park. So I tried to solve both of those problems by finding a nonprofit and I want to emphasize nonprofit organization, to do this, basically do this for us. And your question was, you know, what happens in 30 years if you guys sell it? If you have a conservation easement, a legal conservation easement, they cannot sell it. Or they can sell it, excuse me, but they can't, like, build on it and things of that nature, because there are permanent restrictions on the property that is, has gained a proper conservation easement. So, and another thing that Kate brought up about the land bridge, I'm not an attorney, but I have all the documents that could once and for all solve that, and I have had those for probably 10 years. And in fact, there was comments about Clinton County Road Commission's legal counsel, and I have spoken with them. Les Brent's, his first name's Ken, is it? Anyway, I didn't know if you knew him or not, the one that works with, I thought you knew all the attorneys.
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, but anyway, I've spoken with him and the Clinton County Road Commission, and he pretty much said in a nutshell, the onus is not on us to not use the land bridge. It's clearly a public use road and bridge. The onus is on the private landowner. If he still wants to, you know, complain and exert his alleged authority over it, then it's up to him to do the legal proceedings. But he said that he doesn't have a leg to stand on. And one thing I wanted to bring
His
up.
own property?
It's not his own property. Anyway, one thing I wanted to bring up is that Bath Township owns what's called the fish head parcel. And I have a reference to that, if you see it in there. The deed on that, there is a stipulation on that deed that there is a 60-foot right-of-way on the road, which is Park Key Drive. That's open to the owners of that land. They have the right of ingress and egress.
Do you have more, or could I ask a question?
You can ask a question, definitely.
I know this is sort of projecting in the future, but I'm just curious of if your board has discussed this, or you and your team have discussed these two properties that are not contiguous, the one in the northern region and then the middle of the fish. Would you be interested, would you be pursuing getting those so that it's one big continuous piece, or
Yes, that would be a future, action on the part of the organization.
you've not made any contact
No,
yet?
Before I start working with my board, I need to know what's,
How serious we are.
yeah, before we start getting in the weeds of, you know.
Well, there's a
ensuring
lot
that
of
the
weeds on this
transfer is
property.
agreeable to you,
Yeah.
and it's fair to the public, you know, then we go down that route.
Okay.
Well, and I have a video clip of we had if you recall, in 2024, we had a Friends of Park Lake, basically versus the Parks and Rec, about the yays and nays of making that a trail and a nature preserve. Ben did the one on behalf of staff, and I did the one on behalf of Friends of Park Lake. It was previous to this, me being here. And basically Ben said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Karen, that he felt that it wasn't a good fit to make it into a township park because it's, and I quote him, he said, because it's basically all water. He said it's over 40 acres of water. And, you know, that's something that you want to preserve is water, wetlands, nature. And that's what I'm trying to do here.
Well, I think to your point, maybe you're both right. Maybe this isn't designed to be a township park, and maybe it's designed to be in the hands of somebody else to do
Well,
something with.
that's a very subjective statement, and it could,
I'm a
and
subjective
it's,
person.
you know, and I could go ad nauseum on that about it could be a fantastic natural park. And there is plenty of room over there for.
But maybe we are not the caretakers to
That's-
make it that, is
that's
the
what-
point
that's
that
what I'm saying,
Like,
yes.
maybe your argument over the years is not wrong, it just, we aren't the people to carry that out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
So-
not saying that's my opinion, I'm saying maybe that is
Yep.
the fact of the world.
So basically, the liability is what I hear, over and over about this land, we don't want the liability. So I figured, well, if we have somebody else take over the conservancy of it, then we wash our hands of the liability.
Yeah,
But we still have, our entire community has the enjoyment to have that as a nature preserve
I think it's
and a trail.
helpful conversation to have.
And if you look on Wikipedia about the Park Lake Trail, I'm talking Wikipedia, okay? It says the Park Lake Trail was part of the Native American Trail that went from here all the way south of what is now East Lansing and Okemos.
Well, my children continue to tell me that Wikipedia is not allowed to be cited in their work, but I hear what you're saying.
Yes, well, you can find it in other,
I believe what you're saying, just wanted to point
you
that
can
out.
find it in other places.
Jared, you said this the first time you came, but will you just give us like another recap of, like, what is the financial wherewithal, the breadth of your organization? Is adding 44 acres like doubling what you're already doing, or is this small, potatoes to you? Do you guys have an endowment of $100 million, or is it an endowment of like $1 million? Like, what kind of size organization are you?
No, we're a single staff organization, 11 board members. We currently own 500 acres on 8 preserves. We manage an urban forest in East Lansing. Most of our properties that we personally own range from about 5 acres to 150. Then we have a protection portfolio on private land of over 2,300 acres.
What does that mean?
So we hold 22 conservation easements from this region all the way down to Hillsdale County. So we protect private properties in perpetuity with the transfer of development rights from the landowner to us. So we manage 500 acres, we protect 2,200 more acres.
How do you do that with a single staff?
We have a really strong, motivated board.
Is it like a working board?
Yeah. So they're very vested in the protection of those properties too. And then our stewardship's growing as well. And yeah, we can handle it.
Do you all have a strategic plan in place?
We're actually developing a new one because we have new board members.
It'd be interesting just to see if this, I'm obviously assuming it fits in with whatever comes of that since you're in front of us, but it would be helpful to understand how this all fits together,
It'd
at
be
least for
interesting
me.
to go to a board meeting, and let us know when you have a board meeting, and we could go if we were interested in it. That'd be great.
By their
Absolutely.
invitation, since
You're
it's a
always-
private entity.
Oh,
You can
you're
let us
welcome
know.
to attend our meetings.
Yeah, okay, great.
And one other question or apprehension, if you will, with the former Clinton County parcel that the water control structure is on, is, well, what about that easement? I talked with Phil Hance about it. He doesn't have a problem with it at all because he said, and he leaned back in his chair, he says, because I'll always have an easement on that. He said, you don't have to worry about that. It's 100 feet wide from one side of the berm to the other. And we're allowed to walk on it, and utilize it as a trail. It's just always required to be open and available for him.
Yeah, so what needs to happen will continue to happen.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Lizzie, what are the legal considerations we should think about here that we have not thought about yet?
I mean, at this point, I think the ground is well covered. When it comes to engaging in an activity like this, it does all come down to what do the papers say and who's making what obligation at what time. I appreciate that we're getting, I would say, very direct of, there are burdens to be taken on by this organization to sort out what's going on. And I do remember the meeting of the Friends of Park Lake talking about the trail, and I think, Mr. Kotke, you put some things up on the screens to articulate the ownership concerns. I think that's gonna be something that has to be sorted out, and if it can be sorted out by someone else who wants to take that on, that sounds like less legal fees for you all. Contrary to popular opinion, I do think that's a good idea for you all. And it really will come down to the paperwork. At this point, to me, I actually think Trustee Kotke has this correct, which is this board needs to decide if this is, put Jared aside for a moment, is this a direction you wish to go in? And if that's the case, I think then probably the discussion is, are you satisfied with the organization that's in front of you? Do you wish to put out an RFP to see if there's anyone else interested in that, and if they would compare? Certainly Jared has invested time and energy in this activity, but that doesn't mean he's the only one. So those are all things that you can be considering consistent with your own practices.
On that note, I did contact other land conservancies, and they actually referred me to Jared.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, it means they care because you went to Jared.
Yeah, but I'm not wearing the ring right now.
Oh, my goodness.
And won't again. All right, well, board, what are you thinking about this? Where do you want to take this? Does this need further discussion? Do you have more questions for Jared, more thoughts for Trustee Kotke?
May I make a motion?
No. This is not an item for action.
Okay.
I mean, in a technical sense, Lizzie will probably
Just
say you
discussion.
can, but
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
say
know.
no.
Yes, I can.
It's a discussion
Anyway.
right now.
Karen?
I do
Sorry.
think there, Mr. Supervisor, may I?
Yeah, oh, go,
Ray
please.
told me I could, but I wanted to make sure. I think, the properties included warrant, a closer look. Some of those were, gained through, tax sale from from Clinton County. So I think there are some additional stipulations that should we, transfer those, I think what we got them for would be different than, depending on what avenue you decided to pursue. We would need to take an additional look at some of those properties as well. So I would just throw that out there. So I think a look at the inventory of properties would be something staff or in conjunction with Mr. Bauer of Beatty Schultz, we might want to do.
Because there will be a financial repercussion on us
Correct.
to sell those properties.
Can I speak with-
If we do
on
But we don't
one
know
or
that to be
two.
true, do we?
Well, if we sell it for current value, and not what we purchased it at a foreclosure.
Yeah,
The
but when
difference
Beth
would be-
said that to us, she really hedged whether that was true or not.
Well, we would
No.
need to
She was like, I
investigate.
Well, that's why
think
we
it
need
could, maybe,
Well, that's why
perhaps.
we need to investigate.
Okay.
We can't make a decision
I just
on
didn't know if we
these.
had looked into it and we
No.
knew that for a
No.
fact.
We have not looked into it.
Because it's not like we're selling it to,
I will
or
offer-
we may not sell it
Right.
at all, but selling
Right.
it to like
So-
Developer.
low,
Correct.
Well,
right?
past
developer or
the
something.
natural trust fund, I think there's
Yeah.
some
Right.
issues from additional properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would even offer that maybe we would wanna include all those properties, but
Okay.
that's me, not you.
Okay.
So-
Ray, then Sherry.
I actually did try to get an answer about that, the caveats on the tax sale lands that we purchased in the past. It says that if and when we decide to sell it, the taxes that were due at the time of the sale, which say was 1950 or 1976 or 1982, whatever. As an example, in red on your line here, the private parcel Schenkel, number 39. I was right. I said, I think that's number 39. It's right on my list. Anyway, this year, or I should say 2024, the property tax on that parcel, which they're identical on all of those, and the other ones that are a little bit larger are basically 3 of those. The property tax is $140
For
So-
the year or summer or winter?
for both together.
Total.
So theoretically, if that stipulation is true on those tax parcels, then we would be technically, need to pay $150 to the treasurer.
We who?
That's, I thought they were talking about the difference between what we bought the property for and what we would actually sell it for at current value, not
No,
Bought
property
it for
taxes.
cheap,
there's
we were
nothing
selling
to-
it for market value.
Correct.
There's nothing about market value, today's market value on there. It's the.
Well,
what
a
the tax-
question that remains for our legal folks to answer
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, Jared, you said your board has not considered or seen this, so there is a chance they could see this and be like, hell no, we're not interested in this.
So we have a 3-step voting process to make sure we don't waste anybody's time. First vote is to accept what you would like to do with the property. They just need to know, is that a fee simple transfer or
Yeah.
sale, or is that a conservation easement? And then we work at your pace too, we never rush you.
Never?
And then what,
Well, I can't promise that, but.
what is, just so I can wrap my head around the size of your organization, what's your annual budget? I assume you have an endowment or some sort of protected money to protect the lands, what does that
Every
look
land
like?
we accept, we put money aside, about $5,000 to $7,000 in legal defense and stewardship. Right now, we're about $150,000 yearly budget organization, and we're looking to move into about $250,000 to $500,000 over the next 10 years.
And do you have some assets beside your annual budget?
Yes. We don't have a pure endowment, but we're gonna be building an endowment soon.
And how much is that?
$250,000.
Jared, how are you doing all this work on such little money?
I run a farm, so. We do a lot of work.
No kidding.
And relatively speaking, they're just getting started, you know, in this area.
Yeah, but they got 500 acres and
I know.
2,300 acres they're protected.
He does a heck of a
That's
job.
impressive.
Yeah, we have all the mowers, I have the tractor equipment trucks. We get around the region and, it's a lot of work, but we love it, so it's no problem for me.
Well, I hope you're well compensated, Jared. I'll talk to your board about that.
He's compensated, let's say that.
Go ahead, Jared.
Just one thought that came to mind, the locals that own property there, that in this agreement, if it comes to fruition, to, you know, possibly, we talked about a fence along there, and is that something that can be
That's what
discussed, and
Yeah,
that's
I'm
okay?
happy to meet those landowners before anything ever.
Good luck, but,
And I know that it may be hostile, but,
maybe.
I think they'd appreciate
I think
outreach
they
Yeah.
appreciate a
and
fence.
communication.
Yeah, yeah, and just and maybe that can be included in a contractor deal that we make, that's,
Sure.
they're protected too, because I could see that, I
Yeah.
could see their point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this might be a topic, should we want to move forward, that we do some sort of town hall on and engage
Yeah.
with neighbors and
Yeah.
other people, if we want to
Definitely.
move forward, but, go ahead, Kate.
I was just gonna say that I just, through the planning commission, we're finishing up our comprehensive plan process. And I had just been reading through the draft of that, and it references the surveying that that plan process did of township residents, what they like about the community, what they would like to see in the community, as well as our non-motorized trail plan and our Parks and Rec plan. Like, number one at the top of every survey is nature trails, outdoor resources, recreation activities. Like, number one is trails. And although we do have some trails already in Bath Township, that seems to be what the community values and would like to see happen. And it seems like if this is township property and currently it's not really benefiting the community. I mean, a handful of people know there's a trail there and how to get on it, but most don't. It seems to me that if that's what the community wants, that's what we should try to move toward, at least in the surveys. And the surveys, of course, don't speak for everybody, but they seem to speak for the most people who are willing to give their opinion about what they want.
That's a good reminder, and it does fit within the scope of our strategic plan, which is mostly talking about more the northern side of the lake, but I think we could be more expansive in our thought and that area being taken care of. Lizzie, what would you recommend a process here? I'm having trouble with like cart and horse. Is it for us to like spend time and money on staff and legal fees to do an inventory of the property and to run the data about how much tax we could collect and to look into the legalities of it? Is that too far ahead before Jared's board has even said we're interested?
I'm not sure that I have an answer for you on that. I do think.
What
that
are we
there-
paying you for
I
then?
know, I know. But I share your concern. If it's a non-committal commitment, from both parties saying, I would like to explore this for, you guys have been down that road in the last 6 months with people asking you for those sort of non-committal committals before. I mean, I think it's fair if there's an interest. To me, the crux of the issue is the township interested in pursuing this as a conservation opportunity or in maintaining the status quo right now? And if the latter is, if there are folks on this board who might be willing to, with additional information, change their position, I think you need to know that.
Yeah.
as next steps. And I was just confirming, I just made a note to the superintendent that I can certainly have a conversation with my law partner, Ross Bauer, about this taxation issue. I certainly remember Beth Botke's presentation on that when Jared was here last. We can, at a minimum, get that information and say this is what we know about that generically, rather than a specific inventory by property as an additional piece of information to either confirm or clarify what's already been presented to the board.
Thank you. Karen, one of the things that I have heard over the years of my time on the board was we're gonna sell township property, get it back on the tax rolls. I've never seen anybody actually take action on that, but,
I don't know that anybody from the township's ever said that.
oh, they've said it to me all the time.
We've talked about it on the planning
The
commission.
planning commission
The
definitely
planning
talked about
commission
it,
may, but
board
nobody-
members have said it to me.
I have not had a conversation with anybody about selling property and putting it back on the tax rolls.
Well, perhaps you should remember our previous supervisor who talked about it nonstop. Are you saying you didn't have a conversation directly with her about this?
Here comes the hate mail.
The township is very careful in acquiring properties that, speak to a larger purpose. Westbosser Park, the expansion of Westbosser Park, I try to make it a goal of my administration to not take on properties that have homes on them, or that have, when we have the tax sales, that have, people living in a home on the property. The couple that we've acquired in the past that were able to expand, our parks on the north side of, Park Lake, did have, and it costs us money to raise those properties, obviously, and make them, flat land that's usable for parkland. The ones that we've acquired through, Clinton County, have been to add to this, property around the lake. So I would offer that they fit a purpose. And I don't know that they speak to a purpose of a former administration, but they speak to a purpose, at least during my administration, possibly the one before mine, through Dan Maticha. So I don't, these properties in particular, I'm not, interested in seeing them, be sold. I did mention to you that I don't know, that all these properties would benefit being part of this project. There are some at the end of Outer Drive that, some of us on staff have spoken about there being an opportunity for some, affordable housing opportunities there, if there were to be the right, sewer and water, capabilities. So I
We
don't
have
know
to
that I
like
agree
merge
with.
some of the properties
Yeah.
together to
To
build
make some,
on.
some affordable housing on Outer Drive. I'm game for this if the board's willing to take this step, and analyze the properties to make sure that they're of the, that would benefit from this venture.
But philosophically, you don't think, man, we should sell these properties, put them on the tax
No.
rolls and fix our income problem?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Can I
Yes, thank you
speak
for
on that?
asking me that.
One of the reasons that I think this would be an outstanding opportunity for this property to preserve it is because at the end, the southern end of Outer Drive, Michelle Brown, a citizen, she lives on the last house on Outer Drive on the lake. And south of her, oh, and incidentally, literally across Outer Drive from her is the Eagle's Nest. And the next properties south of her are also directly across from the Eagle's Nest and lie well within the 300 feet, that would not do well for, building in there, construction, if you will. And, and I'm going back to what I said previously, a couple of minutes ago, is that, Ben did a study of this. Ben Zeeb is the parks director. And he said over 40 acres, and I have that quote on a video if you guys would like to watch it, from the previous meeting in 2024. He said over 40 acres is literally underwater. And so with that in mind, he said it wouldn't be a good fit to make a park. And I'm just, we literally have the largest parcel, which is 20 acres, that huge triangle there, was literally donated to the township for the purposes of making a park. It says that on the deed, And that's, you know, you know, you guys have heard me say this a million times since 2011, I'll say. But I want to save it, I want to conserve it, and I want it to be open for the public to enjoy like I did for the last 50 years.
Isn't it currently doing that though? It's
I
open
knew you were
I
gonna
mean,
say- I
it's open
knew
to
you were
the
gonna say
public
that.
Right now, nobody has stopped going to use it right now.
Have you been back there?
No,
The sign's on the road
Exactly.
that says it's
Will you ever
private
go back
drive.
there?
no,
That's the question you need to
Say that
ask.
again?
Will she ever go back?
no,
No.
Well,
I will never go back there.
that isn't,
It's not, has she been back there? She's just never gonna go
well,
back.
she's making statements about the property, that's why I asked her if she'd ever been back there to see it.
What, I'm not making a statement about the property. What did I say?
You said.
It's open.
Anyway.
It's
it doesn't-
open
it
to the
doesn't matter.
public.
But there's a sign on the road that says private drive, cannot go there.
Well, it is a private drive back
I
there.
guess if
No.
I could
No, it's
ask,
not.
if I
No,
could
it's
ask Jennifer's question maybe in a different way is, what changes, what benefits come that is different from what it is today?
Well, Terrell
What
had
benefits come?
Yeah.
Delineation of the properties, most probably, improvement of the trails, possibly new trails. In fact, Jared and I have spoken about the, possibility of, you know, blazing a rustic trail out to the peninsula that juts out into the lake to have a observation point there. There's innumerable places that could be open to the public that aren't presently even accessible because of overgrowth. And the canals were open at one time and could be navigable if they were just cleaned up. And that could be an outstanding waterway, water trail. The DNR has grants available for water trail cultivation.
Are you all eligible for DNR grants?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Owners, yep.
So you
We just can't
could,
do any trust fund.
you could apply for some of these other funds to do, you know, we had like a $2 million proposal back in 2013. You know, to do pylons into in the,
Helical piles, yeah.
yeah. So you could do fundraising or grant writing around
Yes,
ideas
we
like
can.
that.
Just not in the trust fund.
Right, sure. So maybe that's what they're trying to communicate, Jen, is that there could be more and different other than
I'm
the way
just
it is now.
concerned because we've already had discussions about the parking down there, the roadway, the homeowners. I'm just concerned that there'll be more uproar than there already is.
Yeah,
I just,
I-
I
you
wanna,
know.
I wanna ask the observational question of what's different if this becomes a park back there as opposed to Wiswasser Park? Wiswasser Park has private individuals that live all around it also. Why should this back here be treated differently than our other public parks? Or
Because this
public
isn't a
spaces,
park.
if you will?
Yeah, we haven't said this is a park.
Is this a public space? Can everybody go back there now?
Sure,
yeah,
but
but I
it's
think,
not a park.
right, to answer your question, I think is there were not existing tensions with neighbors.
Yeah, one
With that
time there
park.
probably was.
Well,
There's- yeah.
I don't know that to be true. I know it to be true of this property. But to your point, like it does shift that blame, that burden of caretaking of those tensions to
Them.
Jared. Questions, other thoughts? We should probably move on, but I do think we need some direction here. Do we need our legal team to do something? Do we need our staff team to do something? Do we need time? How do you want this to move forward, or do you not want it to move forward?
Who are you asking?
Anybody?
You and
Me
everybody,
specifically?
if I have to. Kate, how would you like this to move
I would like
forward?
some more information. It seems to me that if residents want recreation spaces, number one in every survey, in every plan, then we should look into recreation spaces. That doesn't mean I'm committing to spending a bunch of money, but I would be interested in seeing what the commitments would be to try to move forward with that.
Second that.
And this is a
Sherry, you
way,
agree with that?
Yes, totally, that,
Go ahead, Ray.
this is a way for us to take advantage of the benefits of open space and,
Yeah.
and nature trails without having to spend as much money. Because we wouldn't own it if we went with option one or option two. And it would be by default option two if we elected to do
I
that.
don't see any disadvantages to this if we do it.
I see no disadvantages whatsoever. And the main advantage I see is liability, relief of liability and pain. on
Jen,
township.
where are you leaning?
I'm with Kate, we need more information.
All right, I agree with that. What information would we like to get before we bring this back, and whom would we like to get it to us?
I think Jared could tell us what information we should have to come back.
Okay. Jared, what information would you need from us?
Which of those three options is most agreeable? That way I can start engaging our board. So that, the status of the trust fund parcel, and those are the two things I need to know at the moment before we proceed.
Kate, when you said you want, thank you, Jared. When you said you want more information, what would you be looking for?
So it sounds like there would be some legal costs on our end to either selling or, whatever the other term, making an easement. Conservation easement. If we could maybe just get an estimate from the legal counsel as to what they estimate those would cost. I
Okay.
think that's what I would be most, cause I have really no idea what that would be. And, you know, if it reaches a break even, like, yeah, the township's gonna have to spend some money to clean up this paperwork and figure it all out. But then we could also turn around and sell it for some money. Or if we decide we don't wanna sell it, then what would it cost us to go that other route? So I don't know that we have.
When you say sell it, you mean to them or to the public?
No, to them. I don't think we are interested in selling it to the public.
And what is
Or
fee
even if
simple?
we
I'm not,
can.
but it's we
simple.
can.
Our ownership of the property.
Yeah, that's what I don't know that I know well enough to decide on which option would be the best, if that's the answer that you're looking for today. I don't know. I think we need more information to be able to answer that question.
You're sort of saying a two-prong, right? You wanna
Yeah.
know what the legal fees would be to get the answers to some of those questions?
Yeah. Yeah. If that
I
makes
think that
sense.
legal counsel and I can work through the costs. I think we could have a conversation easily with Mr. Bauer, as well as talking about the estimates for a conservation easement.
Sherry, you had said you agreed with Kate. Was there any other piece of information you would want before?
No, I think that's, just find out what it costs, and I think the idea is good for us, good for the public. It's wanted, like she said. We have to know before we say yes on the dotted line, what's it cost? And it sounds like we have choices, but we don't know what each, number one or two would be my choices, but I don't know which ones cost what amount. So we get the answers. I think the idea is great. There's a lot of
Yeah.
advantages to
Just
it.
some ballparks.
Yeah, and the fencing,
I could
make
do
sure
that.
that we protect the private owners. I think that's important. But it sounds good for the community as a whole.
Jen, any specific information you'd want beyond what we've listed?
No.
Ray, I think you're sitting on a pile of information, but is there more that you would want?
A virtual plethora of information. No, the only information I want is, how many of you will say yes and how many will say no?
Depends on what comes back as the cost.
Yep, I totally agree.
Because we all know
So,
we're buying
the
right now.
transfer costs, the, how much we can sell the parcels for would be ultimately,
Right.
granted, that's far down the line,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but that's what I would need to know later on in
Yeah.
the process.
Are any of your other, I think you said 8 preserves, is that right? Were any of those transferred to you by municipalities?
No, one was purchased through, a DNR grant, the rest were pure donations.
So there's no like situation that we could look to in
Oh,
your
no, I don't
past?
have an example really, I have paperwork here to show you, this similar situation happened 20 years ago.
No, even like
But I can help
a
you get the
person to tell us,
information
like,
from a-
here's why we made the decision
Right,
and here's
yeah.
how it benefited
Oh,
us
yeah,
would be
sure.
helpful, but
Yeah.
that's
And I'm
fair.
happy to
Pros
get
and
that,
cons either
engage
way.
other municipalities and other land trusts that have done something similar.
Yeah, I mean, that might be interesting to hear if another municipality had done this with their local trust, why they made that decision and if they ended up being
Yeah, and I
happy
can
with
take
it.
care of that, I don't wanna
Okay.
put your staff or anybody at work doing that.
To me,
That
that
would
would
be-
be helpful,
yeah.
and I think it could answer some of your questions too. Okay, I think we've got marching orders, is that fair to say, everyone?
Sounds good.
And I appreciate your consideration.
Thanks.
thank you for continuing to be here. So Karen, you and I can sort of monitor the collection of this information and decide
Yes.
when to put it back on the agenda?
I think that's fair,
Okay.
along with Lizzie and her team.
Will you add it to our ongoing
I
Google
will.
Doc?
I would love
So we
that.
don't lose it?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ray, for bringing us. Jared, thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming
Thank you
here.
for your time.
Thanks, Jared.
Jared.
Appreciate the time you've put into this. It's an interesting proposal. That brings us to item 13, unfinished business, big A, small c. Am I saying it right? Yep, Chandler Road project update from Deputy Superintendent. And I'm gonna ask her to speak slowly, because I'm gonna excuse myself for a minute and just take up the space.
I mean, we can just pause for a
Wait,
quick
no
sec.
Keep it rolling.
Okay.
That was what I was
It's gonna be a long meeting.
Talk
As long as- are we pausing?
slowly. Yeah, we didn't officially
Potty break.
pause.
Excuse me. If
Um,
you'd like that, then there's a list of the properties behind that too.
Yeah, it's in the packet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have it.
I didn't know if you had a packet or not.
yes, she does.
I do, thank you.
Yep.
So Chandler Road, we have started this project. It was actually supposed to begin today and the road was supposed to close. I found out at the end of the day on Friday that they had to push the start date 1 week due to some unforeseen issues with getting the project started. So we already have a project delay, which isn't ideal. But this is, as you can see, a very long project. So the end date is still probably going to remain the same. So this closure will be from Coleman to State Road. So State Road will remain open. Coleman Road will also remain open. There will be a period of time, not until next year, that the intersection at Coleman will have to be closed for some time while they're doing some of the paving. But this initial part of the project, most of this is going to be the sewer work that needs to be completed. So the actual road reconstruction isn't going to be done until next year, since they have to complete the sewer work first, obviously. So during this closure, emergency services will continue to have access. The Clinton County Road Commission will be communicating directly with dispatch to let them know what area they're working in, so that if there is a call that our emergency team needs to go through that area, they kind of know where they need to work around the work that is occurring. There will be a time when they're replacing the culvert that is south of State Road that emergency vehicles will not be able to go down Chandler, so then they will have to take a detour. But both chiefs are aware of that, and that will be communicated well in advance so that they know to prepare for that. Residents that live along that area that is closed will still have access. Businesses will remain to have access as often as they can. So that's most of the project that is currently occurring. We will be having most likely weekly meetings with Clinton County Road Commission moving forward to get project updates. As things change, that will be posted on the township website and our Facebook page, and of course communicated to you all as well.
Questions, thoughts?
We've shared this publicly?
Yes.
I have a question. If people call the township and ask about it, should we send them to the road commission since they are in charge of it?
Yep, so, I believe on the back of this, it has, Jake Perkins and Doug Steppen. They're both the contacts for this project.
Oh, yeah.
So if they have specific questions about the project, they can be directed, to those two individuals, and they are also listed on the website as the project contacts. And Jake will, most likely be on site pretty much every day, so he'll be there monitoring the situation.
I think it's important to say this is a good mix of local, state, and federal funds.
Yep.
Republicans, Democrats gathering funds together for our community to improve things. I think that always makes for a good project.
Yeah, and I think it's good that you touched on that. We have received some comments on Facebook about the scheduling of this and concerns with it occurring at the same time as the 127 project, which I completely understand. Just some background on that. The 127 project was supposed to be pretty wrapped up at this point, and MDOT actually changed their project schedule in the middle of us finalizing our project schedule. Unfortunately, MDOT trumps Clayton County Road Commission. So that kind of threw a wrench into our plans. That's also why part of why the detour is for Wood Road and not for Coolidge. A lot of people had questions about that. That's where a lot of the traffic is being diverted. For 127 is going to Wood Road. And Wood Road is kind of a better area to have that higher traffic than Coolidge is right now. Obviously, people are still going to use Coolidge if they want to use Coolidge, but the posted detour is going to be Wood Road. Once 127 is kind of more wrapped up next year, the detour will change to go to Lake Lansing instead of to Coleman Road, but that'll all be communicated at that time.
And the state funds that are in this, they're like, what, Karen, fiscal year 22, fiscal year 23, state funds, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
we've been holding on to, we, meaning the
Yes.
county, road commission has been holding on to these funds to get the project done, and the state has suddenly started to take back some of that money that they put out in work projects, so it's best for us to use it while we got.
So you're fortunate.
Great. Well, thank you for the update. Other questions, any other thoughts? Great.
Thank you.
Let's move on to items for action under unfinished business. First up, or only up, is second reading and adoption of ordinance amendment number 44.01. We've talked about this multiple times before. Is there any new information that we need to know, Superintendent? Is there any new questions, board members, or should we move this forward to action?
No new information from the superintendent's office.
Okay. Any new information requested from board members? If not, I'd entertain a motion to move this forward.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve second reading and adoption of ordinance amendment number 44.01, Consumers Energy Company Electric Franchise. Any other discussion about this? Wake up, Madam Deputy Clerk, you're back on. Roll call vote, please.
Kotke,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Fewins-Bliss,
Yes.
Hagerman,
Yes.
Kellerman,
Yes.
Thank you, that motion carries. That brings us to the end of unfinished business and on to new business, item 14, large A, items for discussion and introduction, the amendment to the fee schedule. We have our planning and zoning administrator here, Miles, to talk us through that.
Hello, how's it going, board? Yeah, you guys are having a good day. So, there are two major edits that we're bringing, before you tonight. Major might not be the right word, but, the first edit you'll see, and it's, we were talking about this before the meeting, usually when you see a red line copy, you're used to seeing it straight through and then the new number behind it. Because of how this document is formatted, when these like little cells, when we remove cells or replace cells, it doesn't give us that neat strike through line. But just know that, we just bumped up the zoning land use application to the top, so it put it in blue, but that is the fee that it currently is. That was more of just a formatting thing that we thought would be helpful, because that's the fee that 90% of people want to see, so just put it right to the top. And then the fee that we're actually seeking to change the dollar amount on is the zoning, compliance or certification zoning compliance fee. So the current zoning compliance fee, and this is one we have changed regularly in the past, seeking to change it again, the current fee is $100. The problem that we've been running into for the last couple years now is, I think when I first came on board in 21, I maybe got one request, and then in 22, I've gotten maybe 3 zoning compliance requests, and then in 24, 9, and 25, 15, and now it's happening multiple times a month. And I think that's largely to do with changes in the banking industry and how they are conducting their due diligence on commercial properties. 95% of these zoning compliance requests are coming for some kind of commercial property that's in the middle of changing hands. And it's usually even sometimes both the buying entity's lender and the selling entity's lender, or selling entity's bank of whoever is holding that loan, both requesting a zoning compliance letter on the same property at the same time. With that being said, we wanna keep the we've intentionally now broken the fee out into two different fees. One that would apply to residential properties and staying that at 100. Cause obviously a single family home, it's much easier, the records are much cleaner to produce a zoning compliance letter for a regular residential dwelling.
That's the current fee too?
That's the current fee, 100. So for Bath Township residents, your average single-family home owner, no increase to them. Where we're having an issue in the planning and zoning department is with these commercial institutions. We're spending a lot of time, especially if it's an older, more complex commercial development. For example, the one that we were doing with today, was Noco Lofts. I think they had a total of 4 SUPs, 8 special use permit amendments, 5 site plan amendments, and this is spanning over, you know, a 30-year period. So going back in the records and digging all this up and exploring the timeline of how this all came to be today, as you can imagine, is incredibly time consuming. You know, worst case scenario, we're in the basement physically digging around for papers, and then we're like off to the races on the amount of staff time. With that being said, that's the backstory. Obviously, an increase was needed. We originally took it to the planning commission, asking for where we thought kind of the low end of the average would be, which was 250. The planning commission, after kind of talking through with staff on, well, what does a typical one look like? How many hours are being spent on this? What does that look like in terms of wages? Felt it was necessary to recommend to this body a fee of $500, which is how we arrived at this number before you tonight. And that was a unanimous vote.
Helpful. Questions? Any concerns?
He answered my question, so.
So the idea would be that you would bring this forward next meeting for approval?
That's the hope.
Okay. Any concerns with that plan, team?
And the 500 is enough to cover
Yeah, I
our
think-
expenses and time and.
Again, I liked what the last gentleman said, where the future is impossible to predict, but
Well,
I
we can
think
change
for,
it eventually down the road.
this can be a document that can evolve, but for the time being, I think that would be about
Okay.
average of what we'd expend on, you know, one of these
Okay.
complicated commercial developments.
Okay,
Thank you. That's great.
thank you.
Thanks, Miles.
Alright, thank you all.
Thank you. That brings us to item B, which is wage compensation and classification study.
I know it says here, but it's actually,
Deputy Superintendent.
thank you, doing some musical chairs. So just an update on this, so an RFP was put out a few weeks ago, to 3 different firms. The due date was this last Thursday. I received 2 proposals back. I just had time to kind of briefly review them. They're pretty similar in price, so I don't think really that's gonna be the concern. Karen and I, now that she is back as of today, we will be diving into those proposals, a little more over the next week. And hopefully have one to you at your next meeting so that we can move forward with that process. It looks like based on both of the proposals that I saw, they're anticipating about a 90-day turnaround, for getting that report figured out. And then we will be able to use that in our budgeting for next year.
So that's pretty tight to get it in by September 1. Are you thinking that maybe, Karen, that this would be part of the changes to the budget, not the original proposal?
I do. I think I'll put forth my recommendation and then use the data that's collected throughout this process for the changes, that are made at the board level. I think that work can inform us.
Mm-hmm.
And And if this board decides to go with the finance committee route, again, that would inform the finance committee and eventually the board.
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation would be to put this on for action once you've made a decision and forego our normal route of discussion, then action, and the board could choose to hold off on it, but
Yes.
also could choose to take action if it's pretty routine.
Yeah, that was my plan as well, just so that we could, kind of expedite the process, especially since we only received two. So it's kind of more just choosing which one fits the best for us.
How many were you, how many did you think would respond?
Oh, I sent it to 3 firms, so I was hoping I would get a response from all 3, but one didn't respond, but that's okay, we still got 2, so.
And the 2 meets the purchasing guidelines
For this, yes.
for this, okay. Great, any other questions, team? All right. That brings us to item 14, large A, small c, which is Bath Township Public Library Millage Disbursement Agreement. This is my topic. Several months ago, I got a call from the library director, who's here in the audience, and the library board chair. They had done some research that had indicated perhaps that the administrative fee that we charge the library to collect their tax and disperse that to them was not allowable. Upon review by our legal counsel, and Lizzie, feel free to tell me if I'm saying too much from our legal opinion, was that was not necessarily true, that it was allowable, but it was only allowable because the board of the library had said they would be willing to do that. They had agreed to it. We weren't forcing it on them. We mutually had a memorandum of understanding that came to that. But what that then revealed was, should the library ever retract that agreement, then it would no longer be an allowable administrative fee. Fast forward several months later, the library board did take that action and retracted their willingness to pay that fee. I'd love Lizzie's weigh in here. I don't know that we have a legal recourse if they are unwilling to pay it, that we cannot force it. That was what the legal opinion shared with us. And so I think this is how we must handle it moving forward, is to not collect that administrative fee, which is, what, 1%?
Yep.
Jen, and it's like $3,500 a year about. Lizzie, is that a fair presentation of that?
I think that was well said. The parties by agreement had been operating under this 1% admin concept, dating back to some roots that I think maybe a little bit more difficult conversations were happening at that time, and this was an administrative burden that the township was relieving the library of and will continue to relieve the library of in terms of disbursement of its own funds. But since the library is no longer interested in doing that in that way, you are where you said you are.
And perhaps I should have claimed a conflict here now that I think about it, but I was the treasurer of the library board when this agreement was put into place. I did help negotiate it with the township. I am now awkwardly on the other side of the puzzle. And functionally, township libraries typically work in that we as the township government would run their finances. Their finances would run through us. We would pay their bills. Sarah would bring the bills up to Karen and say, here's the monthly bills, please pay them. The agreement that we worked out with the board at the time was that the township did not want to take on that burden. The agreement was to sort of make a trade. We would let them have their money and manage their own finances. We would collect a 1% fee to cover any of our costs, and that was the negotiation. We now find ourselves in a place where we don't really have a legal recourse to say no to this. So this is what is happening. We do need to approve a new agreement, and I believe the library board has one that they have proposed for us that we can be in our next packet for action, but that is where we find ourselves. In the end run, for us, it's a loss of about $3,500 a year, so not a huge chunk of money, but certainly some money. It probably frankly means more to the library, whose budget is much smaller than ours, than it does to us. Questions, thoughts, concerns about that? Clarifications that Lizzie can give us?
I just wanna know what way you voted.
What way I voted? For
Yeah.
what?
When you were treasurer.
I voted to approve the agreement that I negotiated with the township.
Because he didn't wanna deal with sending out his own tax bills.
I definitely did not want to manage that process as a volunteer. We didn't even have a director at that point, right? People comfortable with this?
I don't think we have a choice.
We don't. We don't. Just asking if you're comfortable with not having a choice.
But I will let you know in my training, that it is in my department where we can actually go out to all of the entities and ask a fee to collect all of their taxes. I could go to Ingham County, I could go to Shiawassee ISD, I could go to RISA.
LCZ.
There are so many communities that do that. So, I mean,
You could ask, but it would still be on
Right,
that
it would be
entity
asked,
to
right.
approve.
Oh.
but then you're also
Process.
saying, okay, then I'm not gonna collect your taxes, you send your own tax bills. You know,
Well, that's, but
this-
not what we're saying to the
No,
library, though.
No,
Yeah,
they're on our L 4029 anyways,
Right.
so,
Right,
I mean,
because they're a township.
because they're a township.
Township entity.
Yeah,
Is that a way for you to increase revenue if you could go out and
it
ask all
is,
those?
but the other communities
drum.
have a very difficult time to get those agreements.
Oh, really? So
Yes.
we don't have any other than the
No,
library agreement?
they're the only ones we've ever had,
Interesting.
so.
I can confirm, Boehner Costerison and FSBR hosted a regional focus group educational opportunity last Friday, and one of the things that we talked about, and Rod Taylor spoke about at that time, was exactly what you're indicating, which is in lieu of collecting, for instance, the school or the ISD taxes in general, for them, you could say, look, I'm either getting a 1% or you're collecting your own taxes. You're correct that practically speaking, that doesn't land very well, but it perhaps is part of a larger conversation that could be had if that were a concerted effort. And if that's the direction that you're interested in pursuing, Madam Treasurer, or the board is, I would suggest further conversation with Rod Taylor about that as a
I
possible
know,
resource.
I had to miss that.
We
'Cause
missed you.
I had my son's open house.
We missed you.
So I couldn't be there.
So
You
is
were
that a
where you needed to
possibility for
be.
us?
Yes.
It is, I mean, if it's something you guys really wanna push for, but
So that would potentially relieve people in the, on staff here?
no,
If they
No, it
had
would
to do
just
it
cover
themselves?
their costs.
no, it would cover their cost of us sending tax bills on their behalf.
Okay.
Cause right now, we just pay the fee
Do it.
to send the tax bills for all these entities.
I swear, when I was first on the board, that we collected some fees.
Not since
Like,
I've
I
been
very
I've been
specifically
here since
remember, like,
2020, I've
Hazlet
never.
Public Schools, we were taking
Oh,
a
the-
1% fee or something from.
We have, it's called an SET, it's $2.50 for each parcel, but that is because they are on their summer tax bill, where we do ours on the winter, so they pay that, yeah, that's the
Okay,
only
maybe
fee.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah,
helpful.
that's Hazlet, because they divide it between summer and winter.
Got it.
Yep.
Sarah, am I right in remembering you all have a new agreement that you are proposing to us?
I think it's, this isn't,
Great.
isn't it in our board packet?
That's the resolution I think they
That we need to
passed.
approve?
No, they passed
they
this to
passed- oh, they
rescind
passed this
the
one.
agreement.
Okay.
But I think there's a new MOU
That they're
that
gonna
you're
give us.
proposing. So
Okay.
as soon as you get us that, we'll put it on the next available agenda to vote on.
Okay,
Sound good?
Yep.
Board? All right, let's keep it moving. Items for action, 14, large B, small a, disposition of remaining 2025 fund balance at SCUMA from our superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I am recommending that we leave those funds at SCUMA. We have several upcoming projects, including the manhole repair that we are going to be working on with SCUMA, and it helps in my flexibility of using those funds from there. With your approval, they will stay in our reserve account, and then with permission of the SCUMA board, those funds are utilized when I need them.
If it came back to us, it would be put in the sewer fund, right?
Correct.
So it's not like this is general fund money.
And we would probably turn right around and pay it back. Because we have the manhole project and the lining project coming up on Webster Road, so these funds most likely will be utilized forthcoming.
It feels like it's a little high this year. We don't normally have this much money left over. Do you know what that?
It could have been the excellent work on behalf of the Director of Operations of SCUMA. We are currently, as you know, as he reported to you when he came here, finalizing the project at SCUMA. And so some of that money might have been part of the process at the plant. It could have been part of those funds for the project at the SCUMA plant. It's hard to say without delving a little deeper. I can certainly ask that question if you're interested in knowing the answer.
It just seemed like it's a little high. Isn't like $75,000,
Yeah.
$80,000 about normally what we get back every year?
I would agree that it's generally,
It's good to have money left over, don't get me wrong, just curious.
yep. It certainly wouldn't be a lack of flow.
We saw it in person.
Yeah, I'm glad
It's
you all
flowing.
took that tour.
Board members, how do you want to handle this tonight? This is on for action. We're being asked to approve of, is it a transfer into our
It is, would be added to our lift station reserve fund
lift
at
station
SCUMA.
reserve fund?
And those funds are audited, just so you know. They are audited by Maynard Costerison as well, and who serves as our accounting firm. So those funds are closely watched and monitored.
I'll make a motion to authorize the deposit of Bath Township's 2025 fund balance into the township's lift station reserve fund at SCUMA.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to deposit the funds into our lift station reserve fund for future use for sewer projects on behalf of the township. Is there any other discussion? Madam Deputy Clerk, you're back on.
Wilson,
Yes.
Fewins-Bliss,
Yes.
Hagerman,
Yes.
Kellerman,
Yes.
Kotke,
You bet.
That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That brings us to our added item, board trustee vacancy. Very sadly, we were made aware of our dear friend and colleague Al's passing this weekend. Our thoughts are with his family and friends, and what a just significant loss to the township as a whole. A decade's worth of history and memories and vision. I just really appreciated Al's humor, his kindness, his consistency. And we will be at a loss because of his passing. This has awkwardly come at a time when I am about to leave the country for 3 weeks. And so I spoke to each of you individually and not collectively this weekend about your thoughts about moving forward quickly, and heard mostly support. And so I reached out to a potential candidate that I thought would be a good fill for our vacancy. We have 45 days from today, as I have read the law, and Lizzie can, as always, interrupt me when I say anything that is not legal. That's a blanket invitation, which my math puts us at July 30th. I would selfishly ask to be part of this process because it is so important to all of us. I leave next week and don't get back until the 15th of July, which leaves very little time to move in the time frame that we need to. What we have typically done on this board, in different boards and different versions, is sort of open up to the public to ask who might be interested and do some reviews. I've even been part of interviews in process. I was actually appointed by a vacancy due to a death when I joined the board in 2012, so I'm very intimately familiar with that process. We are not forced to do that process. We can name our own process, and I am asking us or recommending that we deviate from that tonight. If we do not choose someone within that 45 days, we're forced to go to a special election, which my reading, again, I'm not the clerk and not a lawyer, but would be the November election to place somebody in that position. That's costly, it adds trouble. If Brenda was here, I think she'd be, say it's just one more thing in the most complex election that we have ever had in the state of Michigan that's happening in November. So that's sort of the con to that. The pro, obviously, is that the community gets to participate, but it does mean we go months without having that voice at the board. And so as I communicated to each of you this weekend, I started to review once I had heard about Al's condition, and unfortunately what seemed bound to happen, I started to think about who in our community could fill this position, not fill his shoes, because those are unfillable. Someone who has vision, someone who can buy into our strategic plan that we've already adopted, someone who has been engaged in the township, so can hit the ground running. It's very hard, again, speaking from someone who has done this, to come in midterm and sort of catch up on all of the things, so it's helpful if you've been engaged in the township prior. Someone who has some leadership ability and represents perhaps a missing voice at the table in our community that would be helpful to have. My mind immediately went to our former Parks and Rec Committee Chair, Adam Montry, who's in the audience today. I reached out to Adam just to gauge his interest, because it's not helpful to try to put someone on the board who does not actively want to be on the board. Adam took some time and spoke with his family and reflected and came back to me and said, you know, should unfortunately the inevitable happen, that he would be open to that. I asked Adam to share his resume. Board members should have it either in your box or at your table so you can see his qualifications. Adam has run an agricultural facility, I will say, or operation at his home. I have bought, I like to use the word agricultural because that is, you know, there are pieces of our property or pieces of our township that are still agriculture in nature, and I do think that is a missing voice. None of us are doing that, or at least have recently done that.
She's on a farm?
I farmed my whole life.
Well,
Jeez. What is this?
I meant full-time.
I'm full-time.
At home that would beg to
You
differ
had a
with
horse
you,
farm,
Ryan.
it's different
That's
than
a farm.
vegetables. Right, I am not saying it, nobody has agricultural experience.
I have
I'm
a degree
saying
in
running an
agriculture.
active vegetable farm, is that fair? You teach.
What do I think I do all summer?
I have no idea, I've been
I
wondering.
have chickens.
Listen, I also have zucchini plants and bean plants in my house. I think it's different. You all bring unique characteristics that I know and care about and love. I think there is a missing voice. And I think Adam can fill it. And so what I am asking us to do tonight is to take action and appoint Adam Montry to the vacancy. And I want to make sure I'm owning, it feels a little cold to be doing this quick, and I just want to acknowledge that. The timing of the situation is what's causing this, and I want to be respectful of Al and his legacy and his family. I understand they are planning some sort of memorial, but it'll happen later in the year, so we're not stepping on any of that. Certainly, at the very least, we will have a tree dedicated to him, just as we have just done for our fallen colleagues in the past couple of years in the last month. So I want to be kind to that. But I think due to timing and our need to have a full team, that this is the best opportunity for us to do that. You all could choose to go a different route. You could choose to choose somebody else tonight. We have all of the opportunity in front of us to take. The only opposition to this plan I did hear from was from the clerk who was out of town, but it wasn't because she was out of town, it was because she just felt that we should do things consistently as we have done them in the past. I don't think that's a bad idea. We are just not necessarily forced to do this. In other communities, different boards handle it differently. We just have been pretty consistent, even with board turnover over the years and how we have handled it. So I think she has a point there, but I do think there's a unique situation here, and frankly, we'll own that it's my unique situation and my problem that is causing this. But I think Adam is a good candidate. I think he has shown a love of this community. I think he has shown good leadership. He's currently helping to run the Bath Fest, resurrect that and keep that going, and I think that's the type of leadership that we need on the board level, just as Ray has brought up the park issue, and we all have our own issues that are important. I think lifting up Bath Fest has been really important as a rallying point for our community.
So you're looking for a motion?
Let me just say, my recommendation is that tonight we move forward without a process and formally appoint Adam Montry to the vacancy. Afterwards, our new deputy clerk can swear him in and he can take office immediately. I've run this by the attorney, and this is legal and ethical. We're not doing anything wrong. It just is a little different from what we've traditionally done. So,
I'd like to make that motion.
Extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, it's a different day.
I would
we
just,
have
I would like
I'll
to
second.
clarify, if that's all right, before there's a
Let me
motion.
take her motion and go to you if that's okay?
Sure.
So
I
Sherry, you
would
got
like
a
to-
motion?
I would like to make a motion that we invite Adam on board. He's shown great interest and help in our community for a long time, and I think Al would approve of this.
And I would
Just
second
to
that.
clarify, you mean appoint him to the board?
Point him to the board, yes.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Ray. I'm sorry, what did I say wrong?
I see, I was put in a spot there. I just wanted to clarify on this record because, certainly, when we're moving quickly or varying from process, the public can understandably have questions about that. And I appreciate, Mr. Supervisor, that you've been transparent about, the timing of it. I do wish to clarify and confirm from board members, for purposes of Open Meetings Act compliance. The supervisor indicated that he contacted each of you. Mr. Supervisor, you did not inform others what, for instance, like, if you talked to Trustee Kellerman, you did not say, by the way, I've talked to Trustee Hagerman and this is what she said, correct?
No, I asked each individual board member about how they felt about the situation and how they felt about Adam. Specifically, did not mention that I had even reached out to other board members, to any board member.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that on this record, so that your public, can hear that. It is often a concern and, you may hear things about transparency, so I wanted to make sure we tackled that head on. Thank you.
Yes.
I don't think this is uncommon because when Brenda and myself were appointed, it was for other issues and it was
That's a
voted
really
on
great
that
point.
day.
You're right,
It was just the way we did the trustees,
yes.
so.
I didn't remember that,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And
Yeah.
frankly, this is what you did when,
Yeah.
well, some of you appointed me as supervisor as well,
Yeah,
before I
so,
ran.
I mean, it wasn't.
So it's
yeah.
not unprecedented.
No,
I
it's
should have
not.
said that to Brenda, I didn't think about
Yeah,
that.
no, it's not.
Well, we have a motion and a second, is there further discussion?
And that was Sherry and Ray.
Yes.
Thank you, both of you.
Hearing none, I think this probably deserves a roll call vote, Lizzie?
I
Can I
think that,
just- oh,
absolutely.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I was just kind of thinking about this, I just want to share, I was thinking about this all day, because it does feel fast.
It does, it is very fast.
So just trying to spend the time deciding what feels appropriate, what feels right, what feels like what Al may have wanted, and I certainly can't speak for him. But I did, in the time that I know him to be very pragmatic about government operations, and he was, I think, pretty good about putting his personal feelings on some issues aside. And I heard him say many times, what's best for the community, what's best for the government, what's best for the board. And people elected Al, and I think that it's our duty to try and fill that seat with somebody who would have views similar to what Al would have on a lot of topics. And I think that Adam fits that bill, so.
That's helpful, thank you.
Although I felt like it was kind of happening fast, I do think that Adam would be a good fit for the board.
Yeah, I agree. If tonight had not been a normal board meeting, it wouldn't feel as fast either. It
Right.
does feel fast, I agree. Adam, did you want to say anything to the board?
I think that I would just say that I also acknowledge how quickly it is and understand your feelings and appreciate the consideration and opportunity.
Thank you. Then let's go to a roll call vote, please.
Wilson,
Yes.
Fewins-Bliss,
Yes,
Hagerman,
Yes.
Kellerman,
Yes.
Kotke.
Yes.
that motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, board, and thank you, Adam. We'll get you sworn in and sworn at afterwards. That brings us, I have one last thing. As I thought about Al and what I could do to honor him myself and just thank him and appreciate him for all he's done, he had always said that he needed a bell to get my attention, so I have purchased a nice gold bell here that I'll get engraved with his honor, and we'll keep it at the desk for as long as the supervisor will allow for it. So this is for Al.
Well done.
That's nice.
I think he'd like that.
Yep.
All right, that brings us to superintendent's report.
Thank you. I am not prepared tonight to give you an elaborate report, but I have returned from a medical leave that was wrought with complications, but I can tell you that I missed this place, I missed my people, and I spent today meeting with people from the community. Met with Chris Hodges, the superintendent of Bath Public Schools. I met with a resident that's still with us tonight in the audience, and that was a great way to come back to this job, because this job really is about the people we serve and who we serve with. I had the honor and the privilege of saying goodbye to Trustee Rosecrans. His family allowed me to come and say goodbye to him. It was very emotional, and I needed to do that because little do you know when you come on a board like this, the relationships we forge. We know a lot about each other and our families, and it's not just red tape and government regulations. So this is a job that's very personal to me. I give a lot of my life to it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So I am happy to be back, and I'm happy to hear any of your concerns or questions about things that transpired while I was on leave. Our doors are open, and should you have any questions, concerns, or just want to catch up, I'm here, and I'm ready to get back to business. So thank you for allowing the time to heal and take care of myself physically so that I can take care of this township and the people that live here. So thank you very much.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you back. Your temporary replacement did a heck of a job as well.
She did. I've heard a lot of compliments.
Taylor, is there anything you want to add to wrap up in terms of your time? Any updates you want to give us?
Thank you. I had informed you all at your last meeting during comments that I was working with a communication firm for the millage communications. That mailing is going to be sent out this week. I paid for the postage, so it should be sent out at any time. They are also finalizing the web page, and I should have editing permissions to that probably by tomorrow. I'll review that, probably include Supervisor Fewins-Bliss and Karen now that she's back, and we'll review that, get any edits made to that, and then hopefully that will be live by the end of the week. Once I get word on the toolkits that are going to be created for you all, I will share those with all of you, and we will continue with our communications. It has also been included in, well, it will be included, excuse me, in the tax bill that is going out here pretty soon.
Great.
Feels ironic.
A little bit. I felt it was appropriate.
Great. Any questions for Taylor on this or any other issue? Thanks for your temporary service. Any questions for Karen then on anything? All right, well, hearing none, we will look to wrap up this meeting with public statement number 2, an opportunity for board members to, public members to address board members a second time for up to 3 minutes on any topic you so choose. If you're interested, please step up to the lectern, introduce yourself, watch your time on the screen for 3 minutes, and have at it. Would anybody like to address the board this evening?
Good evening. My name is Judy Gardy, and I live on Park Lake Road. Today, Friends of Park Lake started their traffic calming campaign again down Park Lake Road. We installed 6 strategically placed yard signs that say, "Slow down and enjoy the drive." I felt last time we did this about 2 years ago, we over-cluttered the neighborhood and it wasn't necessary. So we have 6 strategically placed "Slow down and enjoy the road" signs. I went to Hawks Ridge a couple weeks ago and asked them to join the campaign and help us get their residents who walk down the road all the time to understand what the safe rules are for walking down the road. So they have printed that in their resident newsletter, and they will actually post yard signs by their exits to remind the kids and the adults as well who walk down the road to the beach and the park exactly how to do that safely. Also tomorrow night, Friends of Park Lake will have their annual meeting. Steve Hansen will be there. He's from PLM. We pay him to treat the lake. And this year, for the first time in about 5 years, he did a whole lake treatment. So he will report on the results of that whole lake treatment. And then we also have been, we had a meeting with the Aqua Contracting Company that does lakeshore restoration. And they came and looked at the lake last week, the west end of the lake. And they're going to come to the meeting tomorrow night and talk about what options the people at the west end of the lake have for restoring their shoreline. And he expressed a great deal of concern about the silt and the weeds at the west end of the lake and that impact on the dam. And so I called Phil at the Drain Commissioner's office, and they will be at the meeting as well. This will be a very good discussion and a good opportunity for learning, and it'll be an opportunity for all of us to really focus on what these investments are, what we're getting for these investments. And then lastly, the township actually came to, I see I have 37 seconds. May I ask for an extension?
Just keep going, let's see where you
All right,
end
I'm
up.
sorry. The township actually came to Friends of Park Lake this year and asked if we would host a series of concerts for them at Wishwasher Park that they would pay for. And so we've been working with James, and the first concert is Friday night. We have a Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter who will present. Her name is Jen Sackett. We will have family activities starting at 5:30. She will perform starting at 6:30. And then we will have additional concerts on July 21st and August 18th. These will be free to the public. Friends of Park Lake will be there to make sure people are having a good time. But the township is actually supporting these, and I think that's really great, and we greatly appreciate it. We do have a beautification committee that's working. You'll see the results of their work along the road as you pass down Park Lake Road. And I think I'll ask the police department, Christy, maybe you could help us with this. Look at the data on the traffic signals as we go down Park Lake Road from mid-May to mid-June, from mid-June to mid-July, to see if this campaign that we're putting together is making a difference to slow the traffic down on Park Lake Road with the detours, especially along Chandler. We are going to see increased traffic and always increased speeds down Park Lake Road. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
Judy.
much.
Judy, in the future, if you ever want to give a Friends of Park Lake report, we could put you under a township committee report so you have more time.
I appreciate that. I would like to see our committee start working. I've been working a lot with James on things at the senior center and recreation and, Park Lake, and it would be really good to have a, community groups that can help us with this. But come to our meeting, and thank you very much.
Just let me know,
Appreciate it.
and we'll add you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak to the board? Maybe give Christy more tasks in her retirement.
Good evening. My name's Tyler Spear. You guys saw me last month regarding ordinances and consistency. I also spoke with Karen today before the meeting. She kind of answered most of what questions I still had. I feel it's still necessary to be said to the rest of the board and to the public that would be listening that I have still seen inconsistencies based on ordinances. The main instance is me receiving a letter of enforcement the same day of complaint back in November. I filed some complaints myself. In November, they didn't get received until January, one of which I recently FOIA'd, and it has been in violation and complained on 10 years ago, and yet they still have not received a formal letter. Again, I talked with Karen, so I know that there's some improvements in process and things like that. I just feel it is necessary that the public and the rest of the board knows that that is an inconsistency that exists. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to address the board?
Okay.
You got it, girl.
This is the longest meeting ever, I swear. You guys covered a lot.
The one you chose to come to.
I know. You guys covered a lot of great things, and that's great. So this is the letter, and I'm just gonna pick through it a little bit, and I'll try to get, I don't even know where the time thing is, but.
You're fine.
As you all may have heard, after 26 years, I'm retired. My last day will be July 8th, which is great. I told you I wouldn't tear up, but I did.
We already know you would.
I've had such a fulfilling career at Bath Township, and one of the things I absolutely love about Bath Township is like a meeting like today where everybody gets their voice heard. You know, if you want to come into these meetings, I swear that small government is the best government in America. Really makes everything run. It's been a blessing forming friendships with the residents, business owners, people visiting. That's the reason why it was very difficult to leave. I loved my job. However, I have many future plans with the family, and it's just, you know, we all know 8 hours a day, you just don't have enough time. So that's why. But something that's really important for me to say is that I take my job, and I think we all do as township employees, very seriously. And just for the fact that local municipalities, it's the first place where people can come in and actually see what their tax dollars are doing. And sit down with Karen like you did, and may not always agree with people, but you get your voice heard, and it all starts here. And I grew up going to meetings with my mother because she was on a board in Woodhull Township, and it really is the best place, I think, of the American structure of government. And this is where the work gets done, and it goes up. I know it gets, you know, everything gets done on a higher level, but this is where people see it the most, and I think we should all take it seriously as employees. You may see me in another forum. I might volunteer. I might do something else, apply to a committee. But I've really enjoyed even any small role that I've been able to represent Bath. So thank you to Chief Mardigan, Township Board, and former Jack Phillips for giving me the opportunity. And my heart goes out to the Rosecrans family, to Kotke family. Welcome to Adam, and welcome back, Karen. So, thank you.
We love you, honey.
First volunteer opportunity, dunk tank at Bath Fest.
In my daily life, I'm never going to say the word FOIA. I'll report back to Trent.
Challenge accepted. Yeah. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to address the board tonight? All right, then we will move to board member comments, and it looks like, Kate, you are up first.
All right, I just want to say again that I'll really miss Al. Sitting next to him, it was too hot, it was too cold, it was too hot, it was too cold. Before the meetings, he'd always lean over and give me a little heads up about who was who out in the audience and why he thought they might be here, which I appreciated. He was always really just straightforward about his approach to problem solving, and many times we would be debating, and then he would raise his hand in lieu of the bell, and just sort of give his thoughts. And so many times that's what we would just go with. That's how we landed on our millage that we decided, is he just sort of gave his pronouncement, and yeah, that sounds like the way to go. So I will really miss that, and my condolences to his family. I only just knew him a couple years, but I learned a lot from him in that time. And I'm sorry that we lost him so quickly, because I don't think it gave any of us really the chance to see that it was coming. And also, who's going to adjourn our meetings? I think somebody should decide this, because we all knew it was Al. He would always be on top of it. Aside from that, I'm hoping that once we get kind of back to a full board, and after Ryan gets back from his vacation, that we can really dive into, as Ray has requested many times, checking in with our strategic plan and some of the items that we have listed on there. I would like to focus specifically on some communication and PR components of that plan. I feel that in some of the conversations that I've had with community members, staff members and others, very frequently, it just feels to me that the township has missed a lot of opportunities to show the community what their tax dollars are doing for them in a good way. The police department's great at it, the fire department's doing more and more of it, I see, but the other part of the day-to-day workings of the township, I feel, is getting really left behind, and I'm seeing it now because I'm kind of in that process, but I think that we could really do a better job at that. And that's something that I'm just putting out there because I'm hoping that I can push for that more when the time comes. And I think that's it.
Thank you. As you heard, I'm going to be absent for the next meeting and for a couple of weeks. I'll be out of the country. There will still be people in my house, so don't try to rob me. Just want to make that clear. Plus, there's nothing you want.
What about those zucchini plants?
Don't take my zucchini plants. I've asked Kate to fill in for me again. Ultimately, that is all your decision in the moment, but just so you know, I've asked Kate to prep for that. I also met with the school superintendent, with Karen and the chiefs today. It was a really good meeting. I think these meetings are really helpful to do cross-governmental, cross-entity sharing. And the superintendent shared that there are 3 school board openings coming up. And he's not sure which board members are going to choose to run and which aren't, but there could be vacancies, meaning no incumbent is running. Our schools are just as important as our township government, and I would hope sane, reasonable, good people, perhaps parents who have kids in school, would run and represent us on the school board. So please think about that. I think the applications or the signatures or whatever is going to be due in July, mid-July, I think he said. You can pick those up here from our clerk or from the school. I just would love to see people run for that and take care of our school district, especially as a parent who has 2 kids in the district. So there's another opportunity for public service for folks. Thank you to the deputy superintendent for her service over the last several weeks. You kept things moving very well, and no panic for the board, which was always helpful. Thanks to our deputy clerk for taking over tonight. Sorry to my farmer colleagues that I offended tonight. I promise I see you, I care about you, you matter as well. And lastly, Karen, I know back in May, we had a large fire at the apartments over in Chandler, and I didn't ask you before the meeting, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe at a future meeting, you could give us an update on what's happening with that, what displaced people, whether they're rebuilding or repairing any. I just know there's a lot of community interest in that. I think people would like to know, so in the future.
I can do that.
Great, thank you. Jen?
Just a reminder, your tax bills will be going out in 2 weeks.
Ooh.
Thank you.
You'll get them the first week of July.
We promise
That's
we're
my
doing
life
good
right now.
things. Right?
I just want to mirror the thoughts of Al. I'll miss him. And Taylor, you did a good job. Thank you for your help. Karen, welcome back.
Thank you.
And Chrissy, I hope you have a great time.
Sherry?
I'll miss Al too, his quiet manner and always sees things clearly, and so sad for his family. And I do think he would approve of Adam, and welcome aboard, Adam. I think you're going to be a great addition to the whole process here. And you too, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for your filling in. I'm glad you're feeling better.
I am too. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. In honor of Al, I'll ask for someone to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank